Sam Bridges walks to greener grass on Xbox.
Kojima has a podcast on Spotify.
Do you think that's why GoDaddy changed their theme song, like their theme song? This damn theme keeping going about
2 weeks in a row, baby.
I'm telling you, between Zencaster and PodServe, everything that we give money to for this podcast has been pissing me off lately. That's all I gotta say. You know what? To hell with my joke. I was gonna make a GoDaddy joke, but you know what? Doesn't matter now. Welcome to Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast. I'm your host, Brett Beck. Alongside me, one senior
Chris Figs.
Yep, Chris Figs. Hey, Chris, thanks for joining me this week.
You're welcome.
This has been a long day, and we're starting later than usual. So for you, audience, and for you, Chris, everyone has to just kind of work with me. I'm going to do my best to be my best at this. So first and foremost, welcome if you're new to the show. We hope you stick around and enjoy what you end up hearing. We like to start the show off in a time-honored tradition, and that is a very quick and simple check-in on what we've been playing so that you guys can get ideas of what maybe you should play. So, Chris,
hi.
Let's start this show off, buddy. What have you been playing? Let the people know. They're asking. Let them know.
In a list, it's been MLB 22, Apex, Rollerdrome, and Trails of Cold Steel.
Trails of Cold Steel, the JRPG?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I never played any of them, but I remember they were quite big on Vita. I debated trying one out one time. I'm assuming you're playing the PS4 versions?
I am. I'm playing the PS4 version, yeah. It's good. I like it so far. I've set myself a challenge. I'm not going to say it on the show because everyone's going to laugh at me because it's ridiculous. But I have a challenge for myself.
Now you know everyone's going to want to know.
Everyone is going to want to know. You'll be able to tell by what games I've been playing if I hold to it, so you'll be fine.
Okay. Well, will everybody keep a Sherlock Holmes magnifying glass on what Chris has been playing and see if we can work together a theory of what's going on here. But moving back to games that you've not talked about, Rollerdrome, how is it?
Rollerdrome is sick.
Really?
It's very good. Yeah. It's Tony Hawk with guns. It's dope.
Yeah. I saw it and I was kind of curious. So is the game online at all?
I don't believe so. I think it's a single player.
It's a strictly single player game?
Yeah, score chaser.
I would have imagined so, strictly because when I was watching, originally you could have told me that would be a game that you could play single player or they'd have online, and I could still see that working out. But whenever I was watching gameplay and they were slowing down time at certain things, I was like, there's no way they're pulling that off online servers. So it's either the game doesn't have online or the online version doesn't work that way. But I got you.
Well, I mean, what I don't remember is if there's leaderboards, and I wish there were. That would be a cool way to implement online in it. But I don't know. It's just a great game. It was one of those, I played the trial. Go ahead.
Go. I was just going to confirm that this is from the people that made Ollie Ollie, correct?
Yeah, Roll 7. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I believe they're an Embracer studio now. I'm not entirely sure, but I wouldn't be surprised they own everyone.
I can't remember. Did 2K not buy them as part of Private Division?
You're right. It is 2K.
Yeah, and I think this is their Private Division game, correct?
Yeah. Yep. This is maybe their first one. But yeah, no, it's awesome.
I think it may have been Ollie Ollie World, but yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I played the trial, and the trial was broken. I don't know if you heard about that, but it was only showing 35 minutes. So I played it for 35 minutes, and I finished, and I was like, this is really great. I'll get back to it eventually. And then I looked at the store page, and they were selling it for 20, but it's full price 40. I was like, well, I might as well if I'm going to play it. It's probably the cheapest I'll get it for a while. So
was that like a PS Plus launch discount maybe?
Yeah, it was. Okay,
yeah, that makes sense. I tend to do that for any game that I think I'll like, just because why not get it for cheaper while you can.
Right.
But yeah, going back to the fact that the trial was broken, it's really unfortunate that Sony has had a lot of issues with store-related things between cross-play, cross-buy, PS Plus, both before and after the revamp. And this trial is part of that. And I was actually looking the other day, and I think I'm going to go down because I already had PS Now and PS Plus for $30 and $30 because of my PlayStation reward stuff that comes with my credit card. But it automatically transitioned to premium because of that. And my renewal date is coming. And I don't know that I want to stay premium because so far I've had there's not a big enough title or enough titles in general that make me want to play any of the classic games. I don't think that they've done enough to the classic library for that to be really considered a boon of premium. Mm-hmm. And I have yet to see a game besides Rollerdrome that I wanted to use the trials on, and then the first trial of the first game that has a trial I'd be willing to do, the trial's broken right out of the gate. And I hope it's been fixed by now. I would assume that maybe it has, but I just don't get why they've had so many issues. And it makes me think that for the extra however much dollars a year, because I always pay yearly, I don't know that I really care about premium. I'm really debating between which one I should stay with because I've hardly been playing my PS5 anyway. So I'm just kind of in that weird area between. But
yeah, I want to say, because it was one of those things where like I wasn't really thinking if I was gonna continue it, and then I opened up my bank account and there was an $120 PlayStation charge there, so I have it for a year.
Well, see, that's the thing is it's the same price I was already paying. So part of me just thinks I should keep it anyway. Well, it's not the same price because it's not been made clear whether or not I get half off of this like I did original PS Plus as part of my card rewards. But that's such a mess right now. Me and Ryan, one of the listeners who I know also uses the PlayStation card, we were having a conversation because the rewards points that are tied to that have been fucked for at least 3 months. I haven't gotten any of my reward points since June, and I emailed them about like what's going on. And they did some kind of update on the card holder side because it's not Sony, it's a financial institution, and it's been hell. And it's not working correctly. They're going to give everybody, whenever they get it working, back points that are going to be what they would have gotten. So I'll get like a big lump sum. But it's a mess.
Gotcha.
So I don't know if it was intended to be communicated that there's still some benefit for PS Plus if you are a PlayStation card or Sony card holder or not. I guess I'll find out eventually.
Yeah, one day you'll know.
It hits your credit statement as like a credit. So like you pay the $60 and then you get credited $30.
Oh, gotcha.
I don't know if that's still going to be the case. I doubt that they're going to. I don't know. Do you pay $120 and they credit $60? Do you pay $120 and they credit $30? Because if it's $90, okay, I'll keep it.
Right. It's not bad. I don't know. I don't think the service is bad. I just don't necessarily use it that much. Like, I don't know.
I think that's the other side. Regardless of the quality of it, I've yet to find much use for it. So for me, the value proposition for me alone, it's one of those things where if I used it just enough, which you could argue is an issue with the service of itself, but if I used it just enough to be able to forget about the fact that it's renewing, basically, as I always have done, I've always thought PS Plus and even PS Now I used just enough to where when it came time to renew, the thought never crossed my mind of should I keep this or not,
Yeah. And you're having that. Well, I mean, the thing is, like, I don't know that you are, and what's the worst thing that happens? You just use mine? Like, oh, whatever. But
I don't know if it even works that way. I assume it does, but who knows? Point being, I may or may not keep it, but I'm glad you're liking Rollerdrome. I think I want to try it out. It is actually a little saddening that it's not multiplayer of some sort because it seems like an experience that'd be rich with multiplayer. Hey, Alex.
I would like a score chase mode on it. I would really like that.
Everybody, podcast cat is here. So, to me, man. I don't even know exactly how it'd work because I know it's not as trick focused, but I think it'd be kind of cool if they had stages set up to where you essentially played the equivalent of Skate, but with guns and rollerblades instead. So where you have to try and match somebody's run.
That would be kind of neat. I would try that.
I would too. Fun. I mean, it may be conceptually good and in practice bad, but it sounds cool. But okay.
I would tell you to give it a shot. But that's it. The usual MLB. I have one card away from completing the collection. I've been getting pretty good at that game. I railed off 5 battle royale wins in a row, which is like no skill-based matchmaking. You play who you play kind of thing. So you can play the best player in the world or the worst player in the world. So that was fun. I've never had a run that good, so I was happy with that.
You said on MLB?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that existed. Also, I noticed that you strategically left Fortnite out, but you've been playing Fortnite because I've seen it on your Discord.
That's true. I have been playing Fortnite. I kind of forgot. I have been running
strictly
around
for the fact
that I've been running around as Goku. 100%. Now I'm just waiting to get my Luffy skin.
Oh yeah, did you not have it yet?
It's not out on it yet. I don't think there's one in Fortnite. If there is,
I'm sorry. You're saying Apex got it. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
right?
Apex has like an homage skin to Luffy. It's a good skin. But yeah, Fortnite's fun. I just don't like the building. You know, it was one of those things where I was playing last night. I'm playing it on PC because I actually forgot it showed on my Discord. I didn't want anyone to know I was playing Fortnite. And so I didn't download it on PS5. But it's good. It's just like you get into a groove where you're like, all right, I'm playing really well. And then someone builds, you know, a scale model of the Washington Monument and kills you from 500 feet in the air. And it's just not fun. Like, I don't like that part of it. So the building is there, which is cool. But
what's really telling is that every time I've ever randomly scrolled across like a Facebook, you know, where they're like, well, you like games, maybe you like Fortnite content. Anytime that I see a Fortnite content, it's always somebody at the very end of the match. The thing is closing and they're walking on a platform in the middle of the sky.
Yep.
That's it. I've never seen another piece of content. So first of all, I have zero reason to want to watch that content because it's the same every time. And it's not that there's not some impressive aspects going on, but I definitely don't want to play the game. Thanks, Onyx. I appreciate it, you fucking asshole. Podcast cat, everyone. Sorry. Me and him, he's new to the house relatively, and he's not on my good side right now for a number of reasons, but it involves cat pee. That's all you need to know. All right. Well, converse to all of your playing. I've been playing Killzone Mercenary, but I got the platinum, and I have decided that it is time for a well-deserved break from the game. Fun platinum. I still had a blast doing it, even with the grind, though I was starting to get very tired of the one mission because it was just like I was trying to maximize the grind. I did get to a point, though, when I actually got the trophy, I knew I was like 250 kills away, so I just replayed the campaign. I just started on mission 1, skipped mission 4 because I'd played it 80 times, not really, but hyperbole, and then went through and I got it in like the 7th mission, Blood Money or something.
So you did what I did with Sekiro, where I'm like, screw it, I'm just going to beat this over and over again.
Oh yeah, I got the platinum at 12:05. By the way, I should have already been in bed. I was tired. I was sitting there and I was like, no, I'm doing it now.
That's funny. I get that. My 4 a.m. platinums. That's kind of where I was with MLB last night, where I kept winning games. It was like 3 a.m. I had to work at 11. I'm like, well, I can't stop. I keep winning. So I just kept playing games.
Got to keep this train rolling, baby. Yeah.
Well, it was the best I've ever played. It wasn't even like I was winning 1-0. I was winning like 10-2, like 6-5. Like I was crushing kids. And then so I'm like, wow, I don't know what's going on. I guess my fingers are really hot tonight. So I just kept going, and then I lost.
Speaking of your fingers being hot, I had to switch. I may have mentioned this last week. I had to switch back to playing Mercenary on my fat OG Vita because my hand kept cramping on the Slim, and I normally like the Slim depending on what I'm playing, like because it's really lightweight and it's easy to carry around, a little smaller, but anytime that you're really moving your thumbs a lot in that console, it has the exact problem I have with the Switch. It's too thin, and my thumb is moving too much, and I'm just like, oh, it starts hurting. So I had to switch back to the Fat Boy so that I could play without my hand cramping, and that was an interesting thing. But that I've been telling you for a while. I bought Killzone 2, and I'd been sitting there looking like, I don't know when I'm going to play it. I thought I was going to take a break But I decided, you know what, I'm just going to put it in and replay the opening mission because I've been having a hankering, and that became, never mind, I'm playing the whole game. So I just got off the train sequence last night whenever I last played. I did the train sequence, which is super cool. And I'm going to keep playing it. I'm not going to talk too much more about it on here. The only thing I will say is if you have not played Killzone 2 and you have the means to do it, I'm going to probably suggest preferably not through PlayStation Plus streaming.
No,
I can't say for sure, but I know Chris played it and it didn't work right. But
awful.
Dude, that is a special game. I don't even know how to describe it other than that. I think that game is a once in a generation game. I love Killzone 3 and I think it's a great game, but there's something about Killzone 2 that's just got this spunk to it where you could tell it's a game where they had ridiculous expectations thrown onto them by that Sony executive, Phil, whatever. I think his name was
Spencer.
Anyway,
Spencer,
not Spencer, but coming out on E3 2005 and saying that clearly, obviously CGI showcase was gameplay. I think that they were a team with a set out to try their best to meet and exceed that goal where possible, and I think that they did meet that goal in most ways and exceed that goal in some ways as well. But that game is just sick. I think it holds up so well. It looks great. Character models are the biggest flaw. They still look good. But when you're not like looking directly at someone and you're just shooting, you're aiming down the barrels and capping out on a Hellgast who's fully covered, which looks a lot better than having to deal with the skin. I think that game looks phenomenal still. I think there's so much small detail and being able to shoot open trash bags and look at the trash that the Helgans have. I think that game feels like I'm really pushing through a city that was lived in. And I don't know, there's an emotion that game evokes with how it's also a tough as nails game. The game is way harder than most shooter games.
It's
and
hard.
It's a great game though. I'm having an absolute blast, and I think that the motion controls for that game, I still think sell perfectly. I thought they worked well in Killzone Mercenary. I think setting a charge and doing your fingers to slide around and set the charge and pull back feels right. And it feels right in that game. I even like the idea of going to the valves and turning them with holding L1 and R1 and spinning the controller. It's a little fumbly because it's PlayStation 3 6 assets. I think a DualSense version of that would work even better and be a lot smoother. But across the board, I think that game is just so good. And it holds up in my memory. I have not played that game since it came out. And I remember it so well, and it holds up to memory exactly. But one thing I did realize while doing that is I've been playing my PS3, but when I played Wolverine, right, I played it with my DualSense because it's fully supported. Not all games are. Killzone's not. So I had to use my DualShock 3. And I used it the other day for MotorStorm, right, last week, no issue. But MotorStorm is almost entirely on the face buttons, so I didn't think anything of it. Well, when it came time to start trying to run in this game and clicking in the left analog stick, I kept having the controller do inputs I wasn't doing. So like I'd click in the analog stick to run and I would jump, and then I would like knife swipe somebody. And I was like, what the hell is going on? And it turns out that the DualShock 3 has got a little piece of foam that pushes pressure up against a ribbon. And over the years, the more you play, the more that foam starts to be compressed. And so it doesn't get good contact for that ribbon. And it thinks you're hitting things that you're not hitting. So I had to take my DualShock 3 apart, which was a good idea because it's a white one. And it was dirty. So I cleaned the hell out of it. It looks like a brand new controller now.
Nice.
But I had to take, I have some professional painter's tape that's like vinyl material, and I cut it to the size of that foam, stacked 3 of them high and put it on top of the foam, and it works perfectly now. But it was a process. It was very interesting. So
sounds cool. Well, I'm glad it's clean. I'm glad it's all working.
Oh, dude, it goes to show you that you get wrapped up in nostalgia bubbles occasionally. I spent like an hour and a half yesterday creating and like making the perfect combination of theme icons and music and everything. And I basically was like, I have this PS3 and I forgot that I still didn't have a theme on that one at all. It's my original PlayStation. At some point I had switched over to the Super Slim where I have like my Kingdom Hearts themes and all that. And so I spent an hour and a half looking for the perfect backgrounds and the perfect pack for like the symbols. And my wife was just like, why are you spending so much time on this? I was like, I guess just because I can, and I missed that you could do that. I made a Nier Automata. I know you hate it, but I made a Nier Automata theme and have it playing the little do 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 do, very pretty little piano thing from Nier on the menu when you're just sitting there. So it's a cool theme. I like it. Hey Onyx, sit down. Everybody's going to deal with my cat speak in this. Okay, it's Podcat. But yeah, I had a good time with that. Anyway, old school RuneScape, still on that. And I got back to, in between Killzone 2 sessions, playing Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth more. And it's still good.
Is it still good?
It's still
I have it on my Vita. I want to play it, but I kind of feel like if I'm going to play a JRPG on my Vita, it should be Tales or Persona. So I don't know.
Oh, yeah. You got Tales of Hearts R, don't you?
I don't have it yet, but it's only $30. I might just buy it at some point. Even though I said that was a ridiculous price for a Vita game in 2022, still might buy it.
It is. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Unreasonable to be that expensive.
Yeah. Cyber Sleuth is good. I'm having a great time with it. I'm glad I'm back to it.
Nice.
I'm also glad I got a little bit of a break from it, though. Like, coming back to it wasn't that weird feeling of like I haven't been playing the game. I think it's the perfect type of game to step away from, and you come back without that skill lag. Like, part of the reason I didn't want to stop playing Killzone, because I could have gotten the platinum down the line, but I was already in the zone. I was like, I'm doing well at Killzone. I might as well keep going, even though all the online trophies are done, and just get everything done. I'm glad I did, because I think it would have been harder for me to have to pick the game back up down the road to do that. So
yeah, I would agree.
I did look, though, because I have some of the online trophies for Killzone 2. I was like, wouldn't it be crazy if I got lucky enough to have all the online trophies? I didn't. I don't.
That would be wildly impressive, though. I would be like, oh, shit.
You know why it would be wildly impressive? Because Killzone 2 was way harder online than I think any online game I've ever played in my life.
It was, but it's very good online. I played a lot of that as a youngin'.
But one of the trophies is 50 wins, and the other one is to get top commander ranking on it. And that means that you were constantly winning. And I was never that good at that game.
It's like top 1% of the world in the week. That's why the platinum so rare.
Yeah, the Killzone Mercenary plat, I think, is 1.04 or something like that.
Yeah.
No, I think it might have been 4. Either way, it's a pretty rare plat. I know that No Fate had reached out and asked, like, I know that you do. He's like, I know that you've dedicated to getting the Killzone Mercenary plat before the servers shut down. And he asked if there's any other games I'd ever done it on. And the only other game, ironically, was another Vita game, and it was my rarest platinum, Mod Nation Racers Road Trip. But I thought that'd be kind of a fun question to ask you, Chris, because I don't know the answer. But have you ever... I know you tried with Mercenary, but besides Mercenary, have you ever gone to a game when the servers were closing and gotten the plat?
I have not, no.
Yeah.
And I've never really wanted to. The only one I regret not doing is Max Payne 3, because that game's incredible.
Max Payne 3 is incredible.
Such a good game.
Yeah, I know that's like probably the hot take a little bit, and I'm not even trying to hate on any other Rockstar games, but I think of the PlayStation 3, Max Payne 3 is the best game from Rockstar.
I think that's a hot take. Disagree with you. No, I don't.
But I love that game.
I don't. Yeah, it has things about it. I'll say that.
Yeah, part of the reason I think I like it more is it's not trying to be an open world game.
Right. It's also fun.
And I think that's what makes it great.
It's just dark.
Yeah. Actually, dude, the multiplayer for Max Payne 3 was also very fun. I played the hell out of that for like 3 months when it first came out.
If I'd realized it was closing, I would have bought it and played it again. And
yeah, went for I guess that's a good way to open it up. In thinking through, by the way, Chris.
Hi.
Resistance Burning Skies. Do you still need that trophy?
I do still need that trophy. I own it.
I made sure I went through and owned it. Also, I do for sure own Two Worlds 2 Game of the Year Edition. I just wanted you to know that.
Okay. I'm still down.
I went through my download list on my PS3 and realized I own a lot of games. And I own a lot of Vita games that I didn't even realize I owned. I'm pretty sure I own Rayman Origins, which is the best Rayman game. So
yeah, it's good.
Anyway, I guess we can move along. We have a very odd community's take this week. Download what?
Resistance Burning Skies.
I will do so.
Thank you.
Make sure you remind me in case I don't after the show, but I'll do so. No issue at all.
Man.
Do you have the online pass for it?
No.
You remember that's a game that had an online pass?
It says I have to buy it?
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But how? I have a digital version. So how could I have to buy the online pass?
Oh, no. If you bought the game digital, you shouldn't have to buy it.
Okay, because that would be pretty insane.
Yeah.
Sucker.
I have the online pass because I originally bought it physical, but then I got it for free digital, I'm pretty sure, as part of PS Plus. So I'm good either way. But
covered.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, the community's take this week was, of course, born from the absolute off the rails ending of last week's episode. So thank you if you listened through that and enjoyed it. Let us know if that's the kind of content you'd be okay with us sometimes slipping in when there's, slow news weeks or whatever, as we did with this community's take in general.
I maintain that I proposed the best way to kill baby Hitler. Anyway.
Well, I love the story we got of describing, like, what are you listening to? Yeah, I'm gonna go find it. Hold on. Was it in main chat? It was over on Discord. That's what I thought.
If you want to join our Discord, you can find that on Facebook and in the podcast description, correct?
That's right.
Nailed
Always
it.
There. Always
I'm so
lurking.
good at my
Look
job.
At you. You're getting just a little bit better. Little bit. Chris, you're really coming into this hosting role like you've never done before.
What can I say? I love coming.
I mean, you got to call a spade sometimes. All right, here we are. It's a sin to win. One of our patrons says, true story. Wife and I had to run errands this morning, and as we're driving, I turn on your latest podcast. She has no clue who y'all are or what y'all talk about, so we're listening, and next thing I know, Chris starts talking about killing baby Hitler. What the fuck do you listen to? The wife asks. They're cool. They'll get back on video games in a second. Then Chris proceeds to do a walkthrough on how to Hitman style kill a baby. Too long didn't read. Wife's a huge fan of the show.
Listen,
that's a glowing endorsement if I've ever heard one.
It is a glowing endorsement. And what I really appreciate about that comment is that he somehow was able to make that back into a video game thing.
I mean, yeah, 100%. You got to find a way to tie it back together.
Hitman walkthrough. But I appreciate that. Now we can say that no topic we talk about is not somehow video game related. Killing baby Hitler, video game related.
Where there's a will, there's a way. All right. So with that in mind, we did kind of take out and ask you guys how you felt about the community's take. And a lot of the reason I did that, we kind of reached out and asked what you thought about there being the occasional community's take that isn't about games. And I wanted to get the community's feedback specifically because this is the part of the show that we kind of turn the show over to you guys. Yes, it's us reading things, but this is meant to be the part of the show where you guys inject your will into the show to some degree. And so I wanted to make sure that we took your opinions into mind. Now, the rest of the show is ultimately for Chris and I to decide what we want to do. I love the idea of striking a balance between what we've always been and also how me and Chris naturally are, where we're far more unbuttoned than we were prior. I don't know what it is about Chris and I. It's how it ends up working out. So thank you for being patient with that if that's something that you have to be adjusting to, but it seems like everybody's having a good time with it. So with that said, the community's take this week was simple. It was in relation to food, and I did find a way to pull it back to games a little. So give us your hottest food takes, combinations you think are nasty, combinations you find delicious, or let us know what video game foods you wish you could try. So
before you start, I have been instructed to not look at the document after Brett started putting in the community's take. So everything in here is live reactions because I also didn't read Discord. No offense, everybody.
That is true, and that is on purpose because some of you guys, I'm going to tell you, one made me almost throw up reading it.
Do you think I'm going to be mad at some of the things?
Not really, because listen, it was one of those things where my stomach slightly turned. That's all. But it was enough, like the vision of it definitely made me think like, man, if I was somebody who had issues, then I might, but no, I'm not that person.
Mm-hmm.
But look, you give your own opinion. Also, I'm learning that there's cultural differences that we're going to have to look some of these things up in real time, Chris. We're going to have a learning experience together.
Okay.
So look, first thing, going to start off with a real tame one that I agree with. Just going to come out of the gate and say that. Josh Farmier, I think is how you say his name, Farmier maybe, over on Facebook. He says grilled cheese sandwich dipped in tomato soup is delicious. No arguments.
Yeah, I don't have anything to say about that. It's facts.
Now, I have a slight twist on that. It's not really a twist, but it's like the same idea, but a little different.
Here we go.
My wife thinks I'm weird, but I love grilled cheese dipped in ketchup.
Yeah, it's weird.
It's still tomato, but I like that the cheese is kind of rich and the toast is there, and then that kind of brings in that little zing of the vinegar. I like it.
I don't know,
and
man.
It's not too far off from tomato soup. Look, hey, if you don't like it, that's fair. But you should at least try it before you knock on. Hold on.
What you said is the equivalent of being like, "Yeah, I made banana bread with yellow starburst." It's ridiculous.
What do you mean? Hold on. You can't make that statement. What do you mean?
Because it's still. You said it's still tomato, and not really. It is not tomato in the same way tomato soup is. Again,
I mean, no, but
tomato in the same way yellow starburst is banana.
Bro, yellow starburst isn't even banana.
Whatever. I was making a point.
You jackass. Now, if you said if you said yellow Laffy Taffy,
okay, yellow Laffy Taffy. I thought it was.
That's not what you said, Chris.
I have a more refined palate than eating starburst to begin with. Okay, Mike and Ike's.
That's fighting words right there. Mike and Ike's are also good. I'm not hating.
Starburst, dude, mediocre.
Starburst and Skittles, definitely classic Skittles with the lime.
Well, supposedly Skittles can kill you. I don't know if you've heard that recently. They give you cancer.
You know what they can do? Kill your mouth. Dude, whenever I was in the 7th grade, I know. Whenever I was, actually it was 8th grade. Whenever I was in the 8th grade, my girlfriend of the time got me a big thing of Starburst, a big bag of Skittles, and a Slipknot wallet for Valentine's Day. Great. I enjoyed it.
Romance at the best.
I'm telling you, peak romance. But listen, I ate that entire bag of Skittles in one day, and for the next 3 days, the roof of my mouth was gone. Dude, it felt like someone took daggers, little mini daggers, and just cut the roof of my mouth. Have you ever eaten too much Captain Crunch? Which is easy to do because Captain Crunch is delicious. But if you eat too much Captain Crunch, your mouth is destroyed. And it was like that, but way worse. But that's okay. Story for another day. We have the next one, Josh Drago, one of our former patrons. Josh, hope you're doing well. He says, again, turkey spaghetti is the best, or turkey pasta. And to that I say, hey, we tried turkey spaghetti live on air during episode 150, 200, that's what it was. It was good. I got to recant. I had bad turkey spaghetti whenever I was in
hold on.
8th
what
or 9th
does turkey
grade.
Spaghetti denote? Like, what does that mean?
You put turkey meat instead of ground beef in your spaghetti. You put turkey, ground turkey.
Well, yeah, of course it's good, but it's less good than beef.
I agree.
Like, that's just a fact.
Even though I still liked it, I agree.
I eat turkey spaghetti because it's healthier. That's like my mom did this once. It is healthier.
I know it's healthier. I know. I think I'd be willing to give up the health benefits.
100%.
But
my mom did this once. She made it was some kind of I think it might have been tacos. It was taco pie. And she specifically called them like beef taco pie. So we're coming home, we're like, all right, this is gonna be great. And it had turkey.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
it's
bad,
funny you say that. Was it turkey that had taco seasoning on it?
Yeah.
Yeah, my wife does that every now and then, and I told her, I was like, stop buying it. I don't hate it, but it's like when we make burritos and tacos at home, I want ground beef.
Right. Like, if you're consciously being healthy, fine, but don't frickin' tell me that I'm having tacos and serve me goddamn turkey.
Also, he says, or turkey pasta. What is turkey pasta? Because in my head right now, I'm imagining like chicken Alfredo, but turkey Alfredo, where it's just disgusting. Like fettuccine with slices of turkey. And that sounds awful.
You could convince me that terrible. Like a Thanksgiving cold pasta might be okay, but probably not.
Cold pasta? Hold on, back up.
Well, no. Think about it like I'm thinking of like a pasta salad. You know what I mean? Where you can have like a tuna pasta salad cold. So I'm thinking maybe if you did like, I wouldn't eat this, just to be clear. But if you did pasta, you did the chunks of potato, you did turkey, some like turkey meat, like cut that crap off the carcass kind of turkey meat, not turkey like ground turkey because that's just gross. You do that, you do some stuffing in there, and you mix that all up with some mayo. No, it sounds gross. I'm even saying it sounds vile. But I guess you could vile.
But go ahead.
You could convince me that might be a good meal if somebody, with galaxy brain level cooking figured that out. But
all I know is that my fettuccine Alfredo with slices of turkey on it sounds disgusting. In my head, I can't get over that image. Now,
it doesn't sound like a good investment for me. I'm out.
If you're listening to the show and you're wondering, hey, this is all great, but are they going to get to games? I promise. Gamescom happened. We're going to get into games heavily.
So you're just going
to have
3
to
hours
work
watching
through
trailers together. So
yes, we did, and I'm honestly exhausted from it. So you're just going to have to deal with it, but that's okay.
Some very bad games there.
So yeah, turkey pasta. You're going to have to get back with me on that, Josh. If you're just talking turkey spaghetti, fine, I'll concede. That's fine. But if you're telling me you're over here eating like turkey ravioli or turkey lasagna, I don't know, man.
I do want to be clear about something. Turkey is the worst bird. Far and away the worst bird. Like the fact that we have it for a holiday.
Have you ever had quail?
I have not had quail.
Quail is delicious.
I'm sure it is. I'd love to. Yeah. But like, why is Thanksgiving about turkeys? And I know this is an American topic or whatever, but turkey is vile. It is dry. It's not juicy. It tastes good for 2 hours. Why couldn't we do this with chicken? Why wasn't Colonel Sanders at Plymouth Rock? Like,
that's the quote of the episode, baby. You are missing some herbs and spices.
Yeah.
Apparently, Colonel Sanders sounds like Loveless from the Wild Wild West.
Oh, I was going to say Chef from South Park.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty interesting.
Would be pretty interesting.
But
turkey's great.
It's weird. Turkey can be done right. I've had some absolutely great turkey, but it's far more missed than it is hit. That's what I'll say for, in particular, to Thanksgiving. I'm a big ham dude at Thanksgiving. Ham is delicious.
Ham is the best. The thing with
so good.
The thing with turkey, and I don't think even people who say they like turkey would disagree with me. If I was like, hey, do you want to go out for chicken or do you want to go out for turkey? 100 out of 100 times it's chicken.
Living where I do, where people love turkey legs, smoked turkey legs.
Yeah.
I actually think there's a lot of people down here who might say turkey, as long as you specified that it was turkey legs. And don't wrong. Hey, listen, I understand.
You're going to tell me smoked drumsticks wouldn't be better?
I don't know. I don't really. I'm going to be honest with you. I've never had smoked turkey leg because all the time when they're around here, they're like $15 for a turkey leg, and I don't like turkey enough to roll that dice. That's all I'm going to say, baby. I'm too poor.
The only time to eat a turkey leg is at a Ren fair when they're being kind of dicks about the food. That's it. Like if there's nothing else because you're trying to be in character, fine, get a turkey leg, but
someone's going to revoke my Southern card, which I don't care. I don't. Southern is not like a sense of pride for me, but yeah, I've never had a turkey leg, a smoked turkey leg, and that's like required eating here. Like required reading, but required eating. It's like it's part of how it works.
You guys have banned dishes down there in the Bible Belt.
Yeah, you know it. Now here's the real one. It's the creme de la creepy. It's the gut punch. Josh Shoup on Facebook. Long time listener, friend of the show. Check out his podcast if you haven't. It's Conspiracy Therapy. He says, so my wife does this combination that I find to be absolutely vulgar, but she and her mom swear by it. They like to make toast and put peanut butter on it. So far, so good, right?
Okay, I was about to say, is that the end?
No. So far, so good.
I did that an hour ago.
You ready? You ready?
Yeah.
Then they microwave a can of SpaghettiOs.
Nope, I don't want to hear anymore. I'm good. That's fucking vile. Get the fuck out of here. Divorce her. Divorce.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
They then take a spoon and spoon bites of the SpaghettiOs onto the peanut butter toast. I think it would only be worse if they were just shoving this peanut butter toast into the SpaghettiOs.
Like nachos?
Yeah.
8 pieces of toast covered in
spaghetti,
peanut butter, and then like cut into triangles and then covered in SpaghettiOs. SpaghettiOs, salsa, and Parmesan cheese just over the top.
I'm hamming it up a little bit, but that sounds so gross. Please stop.
I'm going to try it one day.
All right, so look, we're going to continue. He says, shit is whack, which Josh,
Facts.
tell April. That's disgusting.
Dog,
she can like what she wants. She can like what she wants. She's a lovely lady.
I'm
that
sure
is
you're
vile.
very happy, but that's red flags if I ever heard one in my life. That is a red flag.
So he says, I can't say too much, though. I make myself liquid diabetes by combining Faygo cotton candy soda and sour gummy worms. And I got to tell you right now, that sounds
better.
That sounds
way
wonderful.
better. I've never done something as heinous as what I just heard on this show.
I mean, I've done some things.
Like the most heinous thing.
I guess it's up for someone to judge how bad it is. But I mean,
have you ever eaten something where you're like, oh no, I'm never not going to be fat, right? Have you ever you've eaten a food like that? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I once, and this was with an ex-girlfriend, which makes it way more palatable in my mind. But we went to a Cumberland Farms, and they have which is like a gas station, I guess, like your Buc-ee's, except normal for a gas station.
No.
And they have
okay.
It's not a supermarket with tchotchkes.
Speaking of which, I have your blueberry yogurt pretzels just sitting here. It might be getting cool enough right now for me to send these without destroying them to you. I'm trying to figure that out.
Gotcha. But we went there, bought a bag of Fritos.
Farms, yes.
Bought a bag of Fritos, opened them up, put some of the dispenser chili, and put some of the dispenser nacho cheese, shook that shit up, and we just got stoned and ate it with spoons. It was delicious.
Let me back up. Look, realistically, my wife, I don't get it all the time. It's not something I do all the time. But every now and then, I'll get gas station hot dogs. My wife's like, really? And I'm like, listen, gas station hot dogs kind of snap. Like they're usually all beef hot dogs. They're way better than the shit that most people buy and have in their fridge at homes. They're slow cooked on that little rotisserie thing, the little roller. I think they're good.
I don't have a problem with them. The ones that are hit or miss are like the egg roll looking motherfuckers. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I agree there.
Some of them are good.
Yeah,
but I had a steak and cheese one that I swear to God was chicken. And I'm like, you just, what are you doing?
Onyx, you crackhead, get down. All right. Yeah, no, I don't know. I've had plenty of them, of the actual gas station hot dogs. Like, dude, the cheddar stuffed ones are delicious. Holy crap.
Oh, yeah.
So good.
It's two for $2. What are you whining about?
Dude, I used to get them all the time at the gas station 5 blocks up from my house in high school whenever I barely had any money. That was like a treat. I was like, you boys eating big tonight. 2 gas station hot dogs.
For $3 when I was a kid, we would get stoned and drive to Cumbies, and we would get like a slushie like this big.
Is Cumbies what y'all call Cumberland Farms?
Yeah. Oh, God. Cumbies. So we go there and get those giant slushies. It was like 99 cents, 2 hot dogs. Easy. And then sometimes they serve jumbo pretzels. Incredible stuff. That place is a gold mine. But then they took the energy slushie away, and now it's all
sometimes great. Gas station food hits. There's a local owned gas station here called Route 67. And they have these things called taco rolls.
Okay.
That are fucking great. They look like what you'd expect from like a microwavable burrito in terms of like the outside of them, but the inside is packed with just a shitload, like big globs of incredibly seasoned taco meat, and then pockets of that, like, I don't even know how to describe it. It looks like the cheap nacho cheese, but it's way better. It's very thick cheese, and it's super. It's not. I don't want to call it rich, but it's very cheesy in a pleasant way, not in the cheap nacho cheese way. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but
yeah, there's like a film on the cheese coming out. I understand,
dude. But they're really good, and they're cheap as hell. And they also have some random other, like they have these things called beef tips that people get all the time, and bruh. They're delicious. There's a couple of places where you can really knock it out of the park. But moving along,
let's go.
I'm gonna try. You know what? I haven't drank an actual soda since April. Just for you, Josh, I'm gonna go out and get me a Faygo cotton candy and try some sour gummy worms in it. That sounds great. You've inspired me. Just like I remember, if I'm not mistaken, Josh was one of the people that tried my pizza roll casserole and enjoyed it. So I owe him that much.
You got to come up with a better name for that.
I got to figure it out, but it's good. I enjoy it every time I've made it. Matthew Green, one of our patrons over, he says, Yorkshire pudding wrap. And I'm going to tell you right now, those sound like word salad because I don't know what it is. So here we are. I chose not to look it up. And I'm going to figure this out and see if this is a thing that exists already. It looks like it is. The Yorkshire pudding wrap. Can someone just describe to me what it is? What is Yorkshire pudding, first of all? What to serve? Hold on. All right, we're going to figure this out. Yorkshire pudding. What is it? Yorkshire pudding is a baked pudding made from a batter of eggs, flour, and milk or water, a common British side dish. It is a versatile food that can be served in numerous ways depending on its ingredients, size, and the accompanying components of the meal. As a first course, it can be served with onion gravy. Okay, this just sounds like fancy breakfast food stuff wrapped up in a tortilla or some kind of bread. That sounds wonderful. Clearly, I don't actually know what it is, but hey, more power to you, man. If I ever end up coming to the UK, which I sure hope is something that ends up happening, I want to go out of the country soon. I was originally going to go to Mexico right when COVID hit. Didn't happen.
Is this just a toasted, deli wrap?
I think so.
I mean, that sounds great. Dope. It seems like a pretentious name to say roast beef sandwich, but I dig.
I mean, hey, who knows? We'll have to find out one of these days.
Just the one I'm looking at is all roast beef. This looks good. I would make this.
Yeah, does look good. All right, over on Twitter, No Fate, Mr. Sean, one of our patrons, he says, I once made, and this is another cultural moment for us, he says, I once made a lasagna, but instead of a traditional Italian style, I filled the layers with lamb Rogan Josh.
You put Joe Rogan in there?
Josh Rogan with lamb. God. Oh, hold on. Lamb. Hold on. I got to figure this out. Lamb. Josh Rogan.
Welcome to the Josh Rogan experience. I made a lasagna.
It says lamb Josh Rogan. So Rogan Josh is curry.
Okay.
Aromatic curried meat dish of Kashmiri origin. Red meat, traditionally lamb. Okay, so you just made it with curry.
That sounds pretty sick.
Okay. That sounds like, that could work.
I could do it.
So, what is that, just more like a Middle Eastern lasagna? I mean, is curry Middle Eastern? I really don't know. I feel like curry is Indian. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel that way. Apologize if we've offended.
Yeah, I certainly didn't mean to. I've never had curry, but it looks fine. I've just never had it.
Persona makes me want to make it so bad.
He says people felt deceived, but it was a delightful surprise. So there you are.
I can see that.
All right. Sand Coffin says a video game food that I'd like to try, and then he put a picture of Chun-Li. And let me tell you,
Fortnite Chun-Li, because did you see, oh my God, have you seen the pictures of the Chun-Li that was in Fortnite? No. I'm being very specific to the character model used in Fortnite is.
You're not talking about the edited one, because I saw one that was double cheeked up on a Thursday afternoon.
I think that's the real one, because I went to the game.
From what I understood, that was edited. And if I'm wrong, then Chun-Li is, bruh. I'm talking about the Thirst Patrol coming in.
I'm fairly positive
because she had these blue jogger pants on, double cheeked up. I know, man.
I'm just saying.
You're not telling me something new.
I almost downloaded Fortnite that I never intended to play again just to buy that skin because of how insane that butt is. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I just did it with Goku.
I'm gonna give you one, and I want you to. I gotta go let my cat out after I read this because he's wanting to get out, which is fine. Okay. Sweet Gran Turismo Jones, Ryan, one of our longtime friends, he says, I recommend sticking a Ritz in your mouth, then taking a small swig of Coke. And he put that Emperor's New Groove meme of Poncho doing the perfect, you know? Yeah, so let everybody know your thoughts on that. I'll still be able to hear you.
I don't have a problem with that. That's like me. I've gotten to this habit because my brother started doing it. It's actually really good. We'll eat a piece of pizza, and then you dip the crust in Coke, and then you eat the crust. It's delicious. Absolutely sublime finish to a piece of pizza.
That sounds good. It depends on the type of pizza, right? Like if you're getting like a Domino's or something like that, where it's like, you know, I don't even know how to differentiate the pizza, but you know, the difference is very big compared to like a New York style or a Chicago style or any kind of real pizza. It's more like the homogeneous home pizza. I love that type of pizza with orange soda. Orange Crush and that together fucking smacks. That's one of my favorite combos of all time. It's so good. Crust and all. Ideally, stuffed crust, Orange Crush.
I do love stuff and crust.
But you know, going back to this the Ritz thing, you know what I think it just reminds me of something that people already do, which is salted peanuts and Coke. One thing that happens in the South a lot, and it may happen outside of the South, but this is just something I know for sure. I know a lot of Southern people do, is put their salted peanuts in the Coke and let the Coke fizz up with it, and then drink that Coke.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Eat the peanuts as they come out. So eat the nut. I get the idea. Coke is kind of like a sweet, and it's more sweet in context to what you put around it. So if you put something like salty, then you get that nice contrast bump from it. So I could see that. That sounds good. I'm going to try that one out too. Also, Ritz are just good. I like club crackers in general. I know Ritz is, I think, technically a club cracker. They taste like a similar profile to me, but club crackers are good. I don't ever eat them because I assume they're bad for you, but...
Oh, I have a joke to make after the show.
No, God. Okay. Last, but certainly not least, our patron, Rude Days 93 says, I'm not a fan of Zelda Breath of the Wild, but playing it, the food in there always looks good and seems pretty simple to make with one pot and some ingredients. And I'm here to tell you, games always make cooking look easier than it is. That's all I'm going to throw out there. But the food, I do agree. I think the food looks good in Breath of the Wild, but the go-to food for me has always been Monster Hunter World. Anytime that you watch them cook that stuff, I want to eat that fake food more than anything I think I've ever wanted to eat in real life. It looks delicious.
Which food is this?
Huge ribs. Monster Hunter World.
Oh, 100%.
I don't know if you ever ate in that, but dude, watching that where they just slice all the stuff and then you see these big ribs with meat packed up on them and little dumplings. That food looks amazing. It's mouthwateringly delicious looking. That's my go-to answer for that. But now, Chris, as is the case, we've got to offer up our own odd combinations that we think people should try. I think I might have given mine out on a previous, we used to do question and answer, basically, you know, reader mail, and we'd answer some wild off the wall, not gaming related topics all the time on there. But I'm going to let you go first. What is one of your recommendations?
I heard this one's on Barstool, and I've tried it because I don't have a ton of weird ones. Like once I accidentally used the same knife that had been in butter on a peanut butter sandwich, and that was really good. So peanut butter sandwich. Pretty dank.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
But go to like your local breakfast place, whether it's a Dunkin' Donuts or a I don't know any other ones. Breakfast place.
So like fast food breakfast, or like quick.
Get one. Get a sandwich. I like an everything bagel. So an everything bagel, cream cheese, and sausage. That's it.
Is that supposed to be a weird combination?
Yeah, I thought it was pretty weird. I feel weird ordering it whenever if I ever do.
It's clearly not a normal menu item, but that sounds like right up. I feel like that's something I've probably seen someone eat here. I don't know that you can order it, but I got you. Okay.
I like it.
Okay.
Maybe throw an egg in there. They recommended it without an egg, so I didn't have it with an egg. I only had it once, but it was delicious.
McDonald's finally caught up around here, but for years I've been eating this. This is my go-to breakfast whenever I get McDonald's. I love it. Used to, when they had their previous country style chicken sandwich, which was kind of meant to like compete with Chick-fil-A, they would cook that in the morning for chicken biscuits or something like that. I can't remember what it was. Anyway, it's an official menu item finally, and I'm kind of glad, even though it's not the same. Back then, I'd get them to take that chicken, put it on a McGriddle, and then take the McMuffin egg, the round egg, and put that on my McGriddle and do cheese and like a chicken, egg, and cheese McGriddle. It used to be my great hidden menu thing. It was kind of expensive because you had to like mix parts and none of them actually were supposed to go together.
Yeah.
But then they finally introduced the chicken McGriddle. But when they introduced the chicken McGriddle, they got rid of the country style chicken and they just brought it back. And all it is a non-spicy version of the McChicken.
That's good. I like that.
And it's okay. It's not nearly as good as the original country style because it's just cheaper chicken. It's cheaper as a result. It doesn't cost as much to make as it used to for me. But that was so great. I love that. So for a long time, people would be like, every time I roll through, they'd be like, chicken McGriddle. I'm like, yeah, dude, it tastes like chicken and waffles to go. It's great. It's so good. And I love chicken and waffles.
I've been workshopping a chicken and waffle dessert pizza for a while. I hope I can pull it off one day.
I bet you can.
I want to do a dough, but it's a fried dough instead of a regular dough, like a regular pizza dough.
Okay.
And then you do the light cheese and I think shredded cheddar jack with chicken and waffle pieces on it. And then when it's done, you put syrup over the top. 10 out of 10.
I'd be curious about that. I know it sounds weird, and I don't even really know how you do a syrup base without potentially ruining it too quickly. But I feel like I'd want to flip the ratio there, where I'd want the savory aspect to be the drizzle. Does that kind of make sense?
I guess so, because I was thinking the selling point is that it's a fried dough base.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think I still think that's good. I still see that being good, but I still think I like the idea of the syrup coming after the high hit. And part of that comes from we have a place here called Verano. I can't remember. It's a high end Italian place. I mean, they do brunch on Sundays, and they have chicken and waffles. And the first time I got it, great, huge, thick Belgian waffles with a stack of fantastically made chicken tenders on it, and whipped cream, strawberries. I was like, okay, strawberries is interesting. But then there was this little thing on the side, and I was like, what is this? And it was like a spicy, it was a habanero dip that was like really orangish, weird. I don't know exactly what it is, but I thought there's no way this is good. But I tried it anyway, and I took strawberry, whipped cream, got some syrup, put it on there. And then whenever all that was done, I dipped it into that hot sauce and ate it. And the first thing that hit my palate was, of course, that hot sauce. And then you kind of get the spike from that. And it's like, whoa, it's a burst of flavor. But then that syrup starts to kind of come behind it. The whipped cream comes behind it. That kind of starts to like pull your palate back down. And then that strawberry hits and you get that little fruit bust. And then bam, you have the waffle. It was delicious. I loved every bit of it.
Sounds bussin'.
Next time you come down, we're going to go to
technically I'm up right now, but I'm down when
you are up. But when you come down, when you come southwest, Anyway, yeah, that's pretty good. My weird one that some may remember, I don't really recall if I've done it, but it's my go-to. I did it for years, and I still every now and then pull it out of the bag because it's just a go-to staple. Frozen burritos that you can get from the store, the little frozen ones that you get, preferably of the beef, bean, and cheese variety, the chimichanga or burrito. Microwave it. As it's nearing the end, take a piece of Kraft, single cheese, put it on top, do another like 10, 15 seconds to melt the cheese. And when you pull it out, put ketchup on top of it. It's wonderful. And
sounds like a...
The only reason I always tell people to try it is because I've had every single one of my friends throughout my life, whenever I would do it, be like, what? And then I would have them try it, and every single one of them still eat it to this day.
I like that. Congratulations on creating a food.
Yeah. So there we are. Yep. Sounds good. Anyway, so with that being said, I think that's the end of our very off the wall community stake. So thank you for everyone who included stuff. I learned a lot today. It's been an interesting time. But with that, it's time to move into the news. Now, the news is going to be short up until the point where we start talking about Gamescom. So we're going to kind of bust through this real quick. First things first, in a rare move, Warner Brothers announced that Gotham Knights has moved up a couple of days and will now be released October 21st, 2022. The villains trailer shows off Harley Quinn and Clayface. That is part of excuse me, that is part of Gamescom. Next thing up, not part of Gamescom, or at least was revealed beforehand, Sony has announced that Sony's VR headset, cleverly named PSVR 2, will come out in, quote, early 2023, as one of their Instagram, if I'm not mistaken, posts showed, and they tagged it with coming 2023 early.
Yeah, I saw it like PlayStation UK is where I saw it. I'm like, this is even from PlayStation.
Yeah. That said, Chris, I was thinking about like how packed November is this year right now with releases, and then how packed March-ish is looking. If you're calling early 2023, I'm assuming they're calling first quarter. When would you estimate that you would want to release this from a pure market benefit perspective?
Let me answer that question in 1 second.
Is there a single game you're looking at its release date?
No, not necessarily. March 24th.
You think so?
Yes,
because
I think
of
that's it.
Resident Evil?
March 24th. That would be a super smart idea, yeah. But March 24th. Yeah, no, Resident Evil comes out March 24th. And if they can put that as a launch game for PSVR 2, I would buy it day one.
I think that depends on what the VR content is, because right now they've just said VR content.
Yeah, but
whereas
if they were like
in the same stream, they showed that Resident Evil 8 is fully playable in VR, which I think means that they are purposely setting expectations with that wording. It could just be that they didn't want to play their hand with Resident Evil 4 too early, and they do know that it's going to be able to work entirely, and that would be awesome. But
well, here's my thing. I don't think it matters, because all I think that will sell it is, hey, here's a $650 bundle that comes with Resident Evil 4 that is playable in VR, and a copy of Resident Evil 8 VR edition. Easy.
Maybe this is the holy trifecta. Maybe it's Resident Evil 8 VR, the new Resident Evil 4 VR content and its version, as well as getting the rights to the Resident Evil 4 that Oculus put out, but way improved because you have it on better hardware.
I could see that, yeah. Smart man.
Trifecta. Maybe. It just depends. I'm very curious to see a little bit more gameplay. I'm thinking early February, but I just think they want to try and get out and let VR come out at a time where there's no other games competition for non-VR, because I think you want to kind of let people revel in that experience of VR strictly here. Now, that also depends on what all they're going to be able to have ready for launch. I think if they can have Half-Life Alyx day one, launch on there. That game is big enough in and of itself, and people are so curious about it that if you mix that with stuff like what we're seeing from Horizon Call of the Mountain, if that is a launch title, as well as any other titles that are going to have their benefited versions title, like right? Moss 2. I'm pretty sure, but I don't know if they mean launch window or launch day. And that'll be an important differentiating factor. So with all that in mind, yeah, it's going to depend on what exactly day one has to hold. But I think it makes most sense to not fight with another medium if you can keep from it. Like, you know, we don't know for sure, but like Saints Row right now is coming out in a time that's pretty dead for gaming, right? There's not a lot going on. So it may sell better than it otherwise would have strictly by coming out at a point where there's not much competition. And that same is definitely going to be true for something as niche as VR still currently is. It's growing fast, very rapidly, but I'd be curious. I mean, if Sony does release it in the middle of a bunch of other games, that's going to be really interesting. Because it means that they believe in it in a different way. Because there's no way PlayStation's sending this out to fail. I don't think that they would spend this money.
I think the thing is they could probably release it like the same day as Call of Duty and it not matter. Because if you want VR, you're going to buy VR. Like, I don't think like you're as it gets cheaper, maybe, but as it stands, I don't think you're getting like a new audience for VR. You're getting dudes who like VR to buy VR, and I don't think it matters when it comes out. It's a different, you know.
My argument would be that you're definitely right on, regardless of when you do it, the people who are already sold are going to buy it. And you're right. They're going to have a fairly strong launch just from people who are already interested. But I think if you release at the right time when there's not enough going on and people happen to potentially have expendable income, definitely in America, early February is around the time that most people start getting some form of income tax. That also does continue on into March, something to think of. But I think if you get it at the right time, you can get people to make purchases they might not have made just because they happen to have the right combination of money with not enough to play. And that's how you can get people to jump in.
Oh, I don't disagree with you. I don't disagree with you at all. I just think it's kind of like people who buy vinyl and people who stream their music. You know what I mean? Like, they're still going to buy the vinyl. And that's what I think that thing is. Like, the people who want VR are still going to buy VR. But
yeah, but you can have an even bigger day one is all I'm thinking, or even a bigger launch week, launch month, whatever metric they want to look at, if you strategically place that launch. But that really does depend, because if you have the killer content, it doesn't matter what else is coming out. If it's new enough, interesting enough, and it has killer content, it can go toe to toe with even big games. So, but we'll see. We'll definitely see. Next up, 505 Games revealed that Death Stranding, the once console exclusive, is joining Xbox Game Pass on PC. Now, if this sounds like the Star Wars Episode 3, if you were meant to, you know, bring balance to the Force moment, that's essentially what's going on here. The announcement has been teased a few days earlier, and a new trailer confirmed the rumors. No, real talk. This is not surprising. 505 Games is the publisher, and they have the rights to publishing on PC, and of course to do what they want to with it. Sony contracted it out to them as the owners of the IP. They chose to do that. That's fine. That may have been part of their contractual agreement, that they were allowed to let Kojima was allowed to look for his own part. Maybe he wanted somebody to publish. We probably won't ever know those details, but we know that Death Stranding is wholly owned by PlayStation. So look, at this point, regardless of 505 Games, PlayStation has a game on Game Pass on Xbox, the actual console, not just PC. It's all up in the air. It doesn't matter at this point. But that's okay. Chris, I see that you downloaded Death Stranding, as we talked about, on PC.
I did.
What are your thoughts on this?
I'm excited to play it on PC for free. That's really all it is.
Yeah,
sure. I have to wonder if Microsoft is doing that on purpose with MLB and Death Stranding. It seems like they're kind of like
twisting the knife a little.
Yeah, can we make them look a little dumb? Because I still think it's absolutely ridiculous that PlayStation Plus Premium launched and MLB 22 The Show isn't on it.
Is not on there.
Insane. Insane.
Every game besides that one, I understand. That game is on your competition's platform, on their competing version of the same service, and you won't put it on yours. It makes zero sense.
If it comes out next year,
you didn't even put MLB 21 on the service. You could have at least put the previous year.
But that doesn't even make sense. That would be I don't think they could. I think that would be more embarrassing.
Probably. But I don't know. The fact that you compare the services and PlayStation's games available on one but not on PlayStation.
Mm-hmm.
Even look, the fact that PlayStation doesn't have a single entry in their own series on their platform. Look, I get that PlayStation's made their statement, and maybe they're not wanting to look weak, and they want to stand behind their statement that they will not put their titles on day and date. But that's also not day and date. That game's already been out before their service ever did it. This would be their moment to do it. The real question is going to be whether next year they get 2023 the show on Game Pass, and if PlayStation still chooses not to do it. That'll be the real testament. But I agree. I can't believe that they didn't put it on day one when the game was already a few months old.
I almost wonder, and this would be such a power move on Microsoft's part, if they put in the contract with MLB that because it's on Game Pass, it can't be on a competitive service. So they forced Sony to charge their customers for the game.
Yeah. I don't know, man.
It's nuts.
It's crazy, and I am confused as to how it's happening, but doesn't really matter. That's okay. It doesn't matter really, but for Death Stranding, because Death Stranding is on PlayStation Plus, so that's fine. But yeah, the MLB thing will forever be a mystery. The only thing that would be more funny is if Nintendo comes out with their own subscription service and it's on theirs, and Nintendo and Microsoft are both like, "Come play MLB 2023 day one on our service," and PlayStation's like, "Pay $70, please."
Hey, pores. At least just freaking give it to me for $1 at that point. But we can't put it on PS Plus Premium, but if you have it, 99% discount.
Yeah, because at this point, yeah, I'm going to go ahead and inject this into the news because it's something that I think is worth talking about, and we kind of talked about it a little bit in the Discord, but I noticed it wasn't on here. So Sony is being sued in the UK for $50 billion.
Yeah, I didn't put it in because I find it patently ridiculous.
I agree, and actually I want to talk, or at least the grounds for what they're saying, right? Take away whether or not you think that what they're doing is good or bad. The actual grounds for the suit make zero sense when compared to the rest of the industry and the fact that they only went after one person. But Sony is basically being sued for $50 billion because whoever the suer is, what they're saying is they're claiming that PlayStation dominates the digital distribution for PlayStation console for their games, which of course they do. They have access to the PlayStation Store and they pull everything in. And they say that the issue here is that Sony definitely this is definitely in the economic position that we are in right now, are basically pulling one over on customers and forcing their hands, all because of the fact that they have a 30% commission that they put on all digital sales that happen on their platform. Now here's the weird situation of this all. That policy is on every other platform. Console wise, it's on theirs, and if I'm not mistaken, it's the same, if not damn close. And it's even on PC at a lesser amount via Steam and Epic Game Store. The way that platforms like this work, that online distribution centers, stores like this work, is that by being part of them and getting the benefits of them hosting all these things in one easy place for you to buy and keep all your games congregated, that they make a percentage off of that as a commission for creating and maintaining the environment in which you can buy this. That's been the thing for digital gaming since it's been there. But more so, it's the exact same method used for physical games. Physical games have also always had a 70-30 split. Yep. The digital market mirrors it exactly. The fact that this lawsuit specifically states digital specifically states the 30% split. When physical gets that same 30% split and other manufacturers do the exact same thing, make this a bogus lawsuit. And I see zero way as to how Sony would lose. The biggest downside is that regardless, it's a PR hit to Sony because any company that's being sued for any reason is going to get some kind of notoriety. And for people that don't choose to click in, it could potentially sour their choice to buy a machine because they may be like, oh, this company's in a lawsuit right now that they didn't bother leading up to. So there are potential negative impacts, but it's a bogus lawsuit that I imagine will be dropped quickly.
It's ridiculous. It almost makes me wonder if there was like journalistic responsibility to not report on this. Like, it's so stupid that at what point are you like, we shouldn't even report on this? It's not worth the time. Like,
I don't know. I guess arguably it's reasonable that everyone should be able to have this information and do what they want to with the information. I've yet to see an article. I'll actually give it this. I've yet to see an article that has painted Sony good or bad. Every article I've seen in relation to this incredibly weird lawsuit has actually been truly neutral. Everyone's been like, this is what the claim is. This is what Sony does. We'll see what happens.
Right.
Which is good because real journalistic integrity should tell you that you're supposed to you're supposed to give us news without necessarily putting too much bias on it. If you want to put bias on it, you make it an op-ed. But it's a very interesting way for these things to have happened. So I would be very surprised if anything comes from it. It would also be only in the UK at this particular time. They're saying it goes against anti-competition laws, which we know came up as a point of contention in the Apple versus Epic lawsuit. So while I've seen some people, including the ghost of Blake Pope, say that they expect to potentially see this from other manufacturers, like, where if this one's successful, they're going to try and go after Nintendo and Microsoft. I doubt it. I'm pretty sure that this is going to fall flat and we're never going to hear about it again.
I would agree.
Stranger things have happened, and I'm waiting to see what happens, definitely because I don't necessarily know what the competition laws in Britain are. So I'm not acting from a standpoint of knowing how that works in a different territory than mine, but more so the basis of it when aimed squarely at PlayStation makes zero sense. I could see it. I could take it a little more seriously if it said we're suing Microsoft, Nintendo, Sony, Steam, and Epic. If you said that, then, fine, fair enough.
But even then, it becomes ridiculous because you mentioned how they were talking about, it's the economic times we're in. Yeah, it's hard economic times, but you're talking about people who own a PlayStation 5 or even a PlayStation 4. You still own a luxury video game product. You clearly have a TV, which is a luxury product. We're talking about luxury hobbies. Like, it's ridiculous. I understand that gaming is huge and the market is bigger, and there's definitely cheap ways to get in there. But it's kind of how I felt with the price, with the $70 games thing, and even with this, we have a very, very, very high end luxury hobby, and people act like it's not a high end luxury product. Even at the low end, it is more expensive than hiking. You know what I mean? Like.
Dude, even at the low end, it's more expensive than the average movie.
Right.
Even at low end $10 indie games, you're already paying more than you pay for your average movie.
Yeah, exactly. And your average movie doesn't last nearly as long.
Yeah. Like, so it's which, if anything, again, goes to show how much of gaming is such a luxury, but it's also such a value proposition in certain areas. Even at $70, if God of War Ragnarok is 30 hours like the first game is, bro, 30 hours for $70? Watch 30 hours worth of movie for $70.
Yeah. Well, you could, but
it might happen. But
$10 a month and you get all of Amazon Prime. $14 a month, you get all of it Netflix. True. Like, it's all so cheap to do anything else. Be a movie watcher. Yep. Be like Blake and watch weird ass movies. and then that's all you do with your time. That's
Don't
fine.
be pretentious and mention a French film. One of my favorite moments on podcast history. I mean that outside of our own. Any podcast I've ever had in my ear hole, one of my favorite lines of all time is, "I'm not trying to be pretentious," and then Chris just clapping back with, "You're talking about not being pretentious while we're talking about a black and white French movie from the 60s, 50s, 40s, whatever it was."
50s,
yeah.
That was a great
all-time classic. One of the funniest moments in history. Blake, I love you, buddy. And I think that you also laughed at that. It's funny.
To be fair, really he also followed that up with Citizen Kane is the Dark Souls of movies.
As a joke, to be fair.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
But also a good joke. Man.
It's still
there's times where I miss the time that COVID gave us, whenever I didn't have to worry about all the stuff that I worry about now. Midweek matinee is fun to do for a while. Maybe one day we'll get back to it when the stars align and I have more time and Chris has more time, because right now it's pulling teeth to do this damn show. It feels like, I don't mean that in a bad way. We enjoy doing the show. It's just life gets moving and it hits you fast, as they say. So last piece of news before we get into well, actually, there's two pieces of news. I'm sorry. Before we get into Gamescom, PlayStation Productions is busy. Reports have now come out that they are working on movies for two more franchises, including in their catalog, including zombie masterpiece Days Gone and Vita game Gravity Rush will be hitting the silver screen, if not the ones connected to a PlayStation video game product. Famously, Sony killed Ben's ambitions to create a sequel to the game. So famously, in fact, that CD Projekt Red supposedly made a bid to treat the franchise properly if they don't release it on PS4 and Xbox One anyway.
Lots of dicks thrown in there. I kind of apologize.
There's a lot of dicks thrown in there. But this brings up a conversation I've seen, and this is actually something I think gets really, really interesting in modern gaming, where we're dealing with characters being modeled after their actors for good reason. Where do you stand on the aspect of people thinking that Sam Witwer, an actor, not only a voice actor and motion capture actor, but also an actual actor who does plenty of movies and TV and is known well for it, and is not one of the people like Troy Baker who goes out of his way to minimize himself as a TV star, which I understand. There's notoriety that comes with it. But where do you stand on the aspect of Days Gone, Sam Witwer, in all ways and accounts, not only just by his actions and the fact that he provided his voice, but also visually as a perfect fit for Deacon? Should he or should he not be cast?
Is he a good actor?
In your opinion? I don't know if you actually know much about Sam Witwer. He's a fantastic actor, actually.
Then sure. All that should matter is that the actor's good.
Well, for us, right? Now, thinking back to the business side of it, we always talk about like Tom Holland as Drake, right?
Still fine with it.
Right? Yeah. I am too. He was fine watching the movie. I mean, I will forever stand by Mark Wahlberg not being Sully. But that's,
I watched that movie again. Kind of disagree.
He might be Sully. He might be Sully in the next movie. We'll find out. Definitely seems like that's the way they're going. But that's okay.
You'll get one of these, kid.
Point being,
I'm in a Papa John's.
The idea behind Tom Holland being Drake was the fact that he draws more butts to seats than Nathan Fillion, say, would. Even though Nathan Fillion, by all intents and actions, is a great shoe-in for Drake. He's older, so it depends on the story that you want to tell. But, you know,
I hope
one of the most interesting things.
I hope what they do to shut everyone up is they make this next movie, and then they can make the third one fast enough so that they can Uncharted 3 it. But most of the movie is Tom Holland. But then you get these vignettes of Nathan Fillion as older Drake. Like they did with like in the game, what they did with young Tom Holland, with young Nathan Drake.
Bro.
So they just reverse it in the movie. That would be sick.
I'm telling you, what's interesting is like Saul was talking to me the other day that they watched the Uncharted movie finally. Yeah, the Phantom of Saul Bridges. We were talking and he was saying that he finally watched the Uncharted movie and that he said he thought it was all right. But then his wife, who doesn't know anything about Uncharted, watched that movie, right? She has seen Uncharted very, very, very little. So she had the small. She's not in the dark, right? But she watched the movie. She liked the movie. plenty. Saw, just for the sake of it, put on the fan film that included Nathan Fillion in it, and he said that her exact remark was, wow, this is a lot better and a lot closer to what I had in my head as a vision of what this game series is. And I think most people who watch those two projects would agree.
Oh, I don't disagree with that at all. I just don't think it makes sense to have Nathan Fillion be your main character. He's not, how's Firefly doing? Like, I don't know what to tell you.
Firefly is better than the entirety of the Uncharted movie, and then Serenity is better than both of them.
You're not hearing me
Serenity is
disagree.
fantastic.
I'm saying both of those got canceled.
You're not wrong. Well, Serenity is a movie. I guess it didn't get canceled, but
where's Serenity 2, Brett? Where's 2? Where's the sequel?
If you think about what happens in Serenity, I don't know how you follow that one up, but
because they weren't going to get a sequel. No, I'm just joking. I like Nathan Fillion.
Don't you know that being canceled means something different now, Chris?
Sorry, it got unalived. Now that we've talked about it and I've put it in the universe, I hope someone listens to this show and does what I said about Uncharted 3 movie.
I mean, hey, just keep putting it in the universe.
No, not a new universe. It's just you're flashing
keep
forward.
Putting it into the universe.
Oh, gotcha. Sorry, I was like, I'm not pitching a multiverse movie, dog.
No, bro. Now listen.
Although if they did one, and they did animated Drake, voiced by Nolan North, with Tom Holland, Nathan Drake, I would watch that movie. It's like Who Framed Roger Rabbit, but Uncharted.
Hold on. Now you got me interested.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Now you've got me interested.
Could you imagine
from the sheer fact that I want someone to make a movie like that again? Yeah. Who Framed Roger Rabbit is one of the most wild and insane movies I've ever seen, and I saw it as a kid, and it still holds up. It is a classic. If you've never watched the making of that movie, please do. It is a technical masterpiece. I cannot believe that movie exists. Can't. It's amazing. I love it. Oh man. Anyway, I think it's weird because I don't think that Sam Witwer is a very big actor, but I'll also tell you this. Butts and Seats normally is a bigger name, and you want somebody with the kind of name recognition that Tom Holland has, or like what they're doing where they're talking about Solid Snake being played by Oscar Isaac, another big name,
huge,
very well known actor, and probably not, but also part of a very big franchise. People know him because of Star Wars. Regardless of whether the new Star Wars are good or bad, Poe Dameron. That's all that matters. So with that in mind, I've never even heard of the actor who they're talking about casting for Sam Witwer, which leads me to my point of, if you're going to cast a ultimately no-name actor anyway, why don't you just cast the one who actually brought the character to life? If you were telling me you have to choose between Sam Witwer and like Chris Pine, then go with Chris Pine, because Chris Pine's going to bring in a lot more people. Also, I don't think Chris Pine is actually... Yeah.
What the fuck?
Look, man, I was just throwing a name out there. What do you want me to put? What's the Chris Hemsworth? Who do you want?
Chris Pine is just such a. That's like if the early 2000s they were making the Days Gone movie. I could see.
All right, fine. Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, fuck off! That's not even good fan casting. Get out of here, Xbox controller kid. Get the hell out of here.
Oh man, that's
who's the
so
actor
good.
They're talking about?
I don't even remember the series that he's from, and I noticed you didn't put it in the news because you also didn't recognize the actor. He doesn't look like a bad fit, to be honest.
Sam Hugan.
Yeah.
If I can't pronounce your name, you're not you shouldn't be acting in a Days Gone. That's how strongly I feel about this man.
Now, here's my hope, though. Whoever, regardless of who gets cast in it.
He looks fine.
Yeah, I didn't think he's a bad fit either. But listen, regardless of who ends up in the role, this is like a sick, twisted hope of mine. But because Sony are making this to begin with and had such disregard for Days Gone 2 to begin with, my hope is that somehow, some way, this movie gets made and outperforms Uncharted. That would be the funniest shit ever.
If they go,
even if we don't get another game from it, I don't care. The fact, I just want Sony to be proven so stupidly wrong. That's my hope. You know, the fact that we got, and I love Killzone, as has been made obvious. The fact that we got 4 Killzone games, despite the fact that the entire Killzone franchise maybe sold 9 million copies, but Days Gone sells 9 million copies, and it's not justifiable for a sequel, is one of the craziest things I can imagine.
Yeah, I don't understand.
I have to look it up. Killzone lifetime sales. I've got to know. I guarantee you.
Gots to know.
I've got to know. Shadowfall sold 2.1 million copies. It looks like.
I agree with you, but I feel like Killzone's a bad example because Killzone is dead. So at the same time,
I know.
Franchise is
but Killzone,
dead.
Yeah, but Killzone also got 5 games. I'm sorry, it got Killzone.
Mercenary,
It got not even Mercenary. The one I've forgotten was the PSP one, Liberation.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, listen, that's all I'm saying.
So 6 games then, Brett.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, Shadowfall, Liberation, Mercenary. That's 6.
Oh God, you're right.
That's why I was very
math
confused.
is bad today. Yeah. 6. No, I'm so grateful for those 6 games. Fantastic games, but it's just it goes to show how much of a change there's been at Sony. And not that that's necessarily for the wrong, but as I was playing my PS3, I did have like a spark inside me that's like, damn, I miss PlayStation 3 era Sony.
Mm-hmm.
It felt so much different, so much more player oriented. Like, bro, you love that? Get ready, bro. Killzone 3. You liked Infamous 1, bro? Infamous 2? It's just different times. You want some more Infamous Festival of Blood?
Delsin!
Cole's a vampire! Is this Oprah giving out new Infamous games?
You're a conduit and you're a conduit. Everyone's a conduit.
You're a conduit. Stupid.
Zeke is jumping on the couch like, what's his name? Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I just love her so much.
That was actually not a bad Zeke impression. Also, considering the fact that Zeke would actually be fucking stoked to get powers, considering the events of Infamous 1, that's an even better. Like, that would be him.
Can I be honest with you about something?
What?
You just said nice Zeke impression. I was trying to do a Tom Cruise impression.
Moving on. That's
What's
hilarious.
next on the news?
No, like last comment on that, because we glossed over it. Far more interesting than that is a Gravity Rush movie. Also because live action.
I hope not. Animated.
Dude, give it to the Spider-Verse team once, or you know what I mean. Give it to Sony Computer Animation.
Oh yes. Oh my God.
Dude, that would be phenomenal. I don't know if you ever saw it, but before Gravity Rush 2 came out, Sony did like a little 20-minute Gravity Rush animated movie that looked great. I mean, it looked like the game as an anime. I don't even know how to describe it. The art direction was perfect. It's everything you would have wanted. I don't know if you ever played the Gravity Rush games. They're excellent. They're really good. They're very niche, but they're good games.
Fair enough. Before we move on, outside of Sam Witwer, who do you want to play Deacon? This is also all really assuming that Deacon is the lead of the movie, for the record.
I guess that's fair, but I don't know, man. If you're adapting the work, why would you suddenly take Deacon out of the way?
Well, I'm just saying they might not be adapting the work; they might be adapting the world.
I guess it's possible.
I'm just saying.
Then why would they be casting Deacon at that point? I guess just to have him as a cameo.
Well, if it was a cameo,
why wouldn't it be Sam Witwer? It would have
to be Sam Witwer. But maybe everyone's assuming that they're casting this guy for Deacon, and instead they're casting him for something else. I'm just making the point. We don't know yet.
Anything is possible. You're fair. No, I've been trying to think about it because I think about who Deacon is, and I think you have a good way to show him kind of gruff, but depending on how they want to tell the story, there might be a need for flashbacks. So it means you can't go too old of an actor because you want someone who can look rougher and older, but then also be cleaned up enough to look fitting for the flashback moments with Sarah. And so when you think about that, some of my immediate choices kind of go by the wayside. I would say Hugh Jackman because I think Hugh Jackman's a great actor, but I think he's a little too old now. Also, Hugh Jackman was my go-to for Joel, but that didn't happen, so that's why I'm going to use him in another role where he can be. For Joel?
For Joel, yeah.
Who was your pick?
It's Bill Hader.
Oh, yeah. I actually don't think it's bad. I still think Bill Hader as Bill in The Last of Us would have been excellent. We know that that's
realistically, he should play David, but
actually, yeah, that's more true than anything. That is the most true statement. Yes, I think he could pull that role perfectly. Definitely because of the way that he's introduced and played off, he could nail that
100%.
so well. But I don't know. I'm going to keep thinking on it for a second. Do you have somebody in mind that you're thinking that's kind of a bigger actor right now that you're going for? Or?
And this is not a joke. I feel like it's a joke because it's making me laugh because I know how ridiculous it is. But Mark Wahlberg.
I fucking hate you.
But I'm right.
No, you're wrong in every conceivable way.
No, I'm not. He would not be a bad pick.
It would just be Mark Wahlberg.
Have you seen? Okay, you've played Days Gone. It's Deacon does not talk very much, so this would just be Mark Wahlberg doing what he did in Shooter. And then occasionally,
Shooter's not that great.
Okay, first off, Kate Mara is in that movie, so it's a great movie.
Yes, you're right. She is a beautiful lady.
But he doesn't have to speak that much, so he talks like that. And then, occasionally you might get the like Mark Wahlberg high pitch, like "There's zombies over there." You know what I mean? Like you might get that occasionally. I don't know why.
There's no way in hell. Your New York accent sucked, and you live way closer to New York than I do.
That was the British Boston.
Sorry, yeah.
But my real answer, I don't actually hate the Mark Wahlberg answer for going for like butts in the seats of this movie. My real answer would be like Taron Egerton or something like that. I like him a lot.
I don't even know if I know who that is. What's
the
his
guy
name?
From Kingsman?
The main actor for Kingsman?
The younger guy. But I think you make him play Deacon in the flashbacks and Mark Wahlberg plays him in the real world. 10 out of 10 stuff.
Taron Egerton?
Yeah.
This dude just kind of looks like Tom Holland if he went through puberty.
Sounds exactly like what they go
I've
for.
Ever said.
Sounds like what they go for.
I mean, not entirely wrong.
I like him. He would be good. Or we get Ben Affleck playing Boozer and Matt Damon playing Deacon.
Now, I don't actually think that. I don't think that that's that off. I think Ben Affleck could be Boozer.
Yeah, I would take Ben Affleck as Boozer.
Yeah, I don't know. There's other people I'm curious about. You know, like as soon as you said it, I had the joke of they should change the story to be entirely through the viewpoint of Jesse
Pinkman,
but no, Jesse. Or am I thinking of his name wrong? No, Schizo. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think of. Sorry.
Isn't he the guy that gets...
Of course, I almost said everyone would be like, you just got to get Aaron Paul and have him be...
Yeah.
and just have him be Jesse Pinkman. I think that's where Jesse came in my mind from. Low-hanging fruit of who would be Deacon, the most obvious choice that would probably even do well, but also would probably eventually wear thin, would be the dude who played the main actor, Charlie or whatever, the dude from...
Charlie Hunnam.
Yeah.
From Sons of Anarchy.
The Sons of Anarchy.
All right, we should move on after this.
Weird choice, as weird as this is, even though I think he would probably make a better Boozer because of, I guess it depends on how he looks. I think John Bernthal could do Boozer or Deacon pretty well.
Yeah, you're not wrong about that at all. That's actually right. So hear me out before we move on.
Okay.
What if for Deacon, we get this up and coming actor named Thomas Holland, and then for
Dude,
Boozer,
I swear to God,
for Boozer,
Mark Wahlberg.
no, it's the guy who plays Ned in Spider-Man.
Okay, all right, yeah, that would be better.
But
that would be better.
Copeland, Mark Wahlberg.
Oh my God, I hate you. No. Mark Wahlberg should be the old dude who is not Copeland, the old dude who's the head of the encampment with the veterinarian chick. Why am I Jack?
Yeah, I think you might be right. I don't remember.
Anyway,
the one with the peg leg.
Yeah, but point being,
realistically, if Bill Hader's going to play any character in the Sonyverse, it would probably be Copeland.
I could see that,
because that would just be hilarious. Like Bill Hader.
Bill Hader needs to be in something because he's fantastic. And if
Bill Hader should have been Joel, I'm still mad about it. But
dude, I'm still honestly landing on David. But you know what? One thing we haven't talked about that's a good quick time to interject while we're talking about PlayStation Productions. That little snippet of the Last of Us footage shown. First of all, I don't know how I think it looks yet. I'm trying to process. I like the hyper stylized look of the game, and clearly you're not getting that here. And I'm trying to kind of reconcile the fact that this is going to look more real. So I'm undecided on that. But what I will say is Pedro Pascal saying, "You know nothing of loss." You said it in Discord, and I was like, I got to check this out. That line sounded exactly like how Troy Baker reads for Joel. It blew my mind.
I was laughing because I'm like, this guy didn't even play the game, and he got the voice dead on. Like, what the hell?
Dude, I mean, that sounded like the most Joel shit ever. Now, the other girl, I can't think of her name. The one playing Ellie, I'm not hit her one way or the other on her, but dude, that voice line honestly gave me slight chills because I was like, I can't believe how on the nose that sounded.
Oh, that was when I was sold. That was when I was like, all right, like, fine.
And he looked great. Pedro Pascal's also a fantastic actor. So.
I love Pedro Pascal. Very happy with it.
Yeah.
I can't wait to not ever want to watch that first episode of the show since they're clearly going how the game is going. And that's...
Oh, dude. The worst thing about it is that I've played the game. I don't want to watch the story I already know. That's actually the biggest.
See, I don't mind it. I have no problem with that because I'm going to watch this with my parents when it comes out. They're going to like it. It's going to be cool. I just don't want to see that goddamn intro. I almost don't want to play Last of Us remastered, remake
because of the beginning.
Because of the beginning of the game. And it's just going to be in higher fidelity, 4K depression. Cool.
Look at that death.
I love the taste of children's blood in the morning.
Oh, we're nearing real close to some territory, but that's okay.
So when you spray the Pam on the floor in front of Hitler's crib. Anyway.
Oh. What is that? A ready drop of morning blood.
Yeah.
Listen, we're not getting into poetry right now. All right, so the next piece of news is Embracer Group buy Middle Earth. They buy Middle Earth.
they bought the whole of Central America. It's all theirs.
Yucatan Peninsula entirely owned by Embracer.
Gulf of Mexico, halfway there.
Clearly, Embracer's been moving. We saw them buy all the stuff, all of the Western development and whatnot from Square Enix. Of course, that hasn't closed yet, but it's coming. But they have acquired the entirety of The Lord of the Rings, The Hobbit, the properties behind them, from the owner of them. They have the games rights, movie rights, any other media content that they want. They can do what they wanted to. They also... in the midst of that, acquired Tripwire Interactive, which you may know from Killing Floor 1 and 2, as well as the excellent Maneater. Such a great game. Super fun.
Awesome game. Bottom to twice.
Tuxedo Labs, which is a studio behind Teardown. Singtrix, which is the karaoke company formed by former Guitar Hero devs. And Limited Run Games, which are, of course, a physical media distributor. that was an interesting purchase, and I'm really curious to see what the point of that was. I don't know. That one is probably the weirdest one, but yeah, clearly Embracer's making huge moves.
But you're saying limited run games is the most confusing one?
To me, I think it's the one that I don't immediately see what their plan is for that.
Well, they have an in-house.
I know they have an in-house ability to distribute, but is that what they're actually going to do, or do they want to keep limited run more of what it is, but bump it up?
Yeah, it's limited run Embracer games.
Well, that's the bigger question: is limited run still going to do games from other publishers as we've seen them do in the past? Or are they going to transition strictly into Embracer titles? Are they still going to be more collector driven with codes and all that? Or are they going to start being more of just a distribution leg that can get cases in, get games out, and ship these things out without having to go through other means? I'm very curious as to what the plan is here. It's clearly towards physical media, but physical media is also mostly dying out. So you think that they would definitely be looking at them from the more collector's viewpoint that limited run already kind of has. But yeah, how that reconciles with the rest of their business plans will be really interesting. But when you think about the fact, this is the one thing, when you think about the fact that a lot of what they're buying is nostalgia based, I said it earlier this year to a friend, I may have said on the show, I said it in Discord for sure. It looks like Embracer's entire move right now is to buy nostalgia. Buy anything that people have 20 plus years of nostalgia background with, buy it and make the money off of it, because nostalgia is doing hot as it always does. And that's a really easy way to come into things that you can do to make good money, as long as you treat them with a little bit of respect. So if you mix that nostalgia with limited run games, you might be able to do some pretty interesting collector's editions and things like that completely in-house. I think it'd be really interesting to see like Soul Reaver get a new game, and you can buy limited run games, starts doing prints of the original Soul Reaver 1 and 2, and they're limited. Maybe they're ports for the new systems that have numbered things with remastered covers and whatnot for people who like collecting that. I could see that being something that they choose to go for. Because limited run games did like the Jak and Daxter 1, 2, and 3 bundles, if I remember correctly. So it's interesting. We'll see what comes of that. Chris, any thoughts on all of that?
Sounds like a lot of IP.
You big, I say this.
No,
I think that we've talked about the fact that you haven't, but are you more interested in the idea of Lord of the Rings games since you find the movies to be too long for your taste?
Sure.
Did you play Shadow of Mordor?
Yeah, I have Shadow of Mordor's Platinum. I don't have War of Mordor or whatever the hell that game was.
Shadows of War.
Shadows of War, yeah. I don't have that Platinum, though I beat it, so it's a good game.
Yeah, I like both.
No, they're both fine. I don't know. I think this is just because I've heard other podcasts be like, how are they making money? They have so much overhead, and they now own the thing that Amazon just put so much money into. You know what I mean? Like,
100%. They're making money. If you think about the fact, they're making money from residuals, if nothing else. They just bought something that constantly sells. The Lord of the Rings movies are constantly in circulation. They're constantly being handled, and they get some of that money. I mean, yeah, of course, not WB. Who owns it?
What?
Paramount? Who did the Lord of the Rings movies? I
don't
can't
know.
Remember right now.
Might be Paramount. It might be WB.
No, I don't think it's either of those. It's New Line Cinema, right?
That makes sense.
I think is what it is.
Let's go with that.
Point being, there's people that are redoing it. They're constantly a money-making thing, as they always have been. And like you said, Amazon put all this money into this, and it's going to get even more new people into Lord of the Rings. And so any new media you make is going to do better because there's more. It's in front of more people's eyes.
Do you think Embracer would ever make a new trilogy? Because I was thinking about today, I wonder, because you'd think, right, if they thought making a new trilogy was possible, Amazon, Netflix, Google, Apple, all of these people would have been, maybe not Google, but all these companies who are doing television movie products, you'd think they would have bought that, right? So you have to imagine Embracer got the IP for cheap. And I'm wondering if it's because those movies are so good and so timeless that no one is willing to make new ones. So there was no good reason to buy the IP.
Here's the reason I think that it's actually like that. Even though the movie still did really well, The Hobbit didn't do as well as Lord of the Rings. And it also didn't fare as well critically, and it wasn't as prestigious. They're fine movies. They're much worse than the Lord of the Rings movies by means of trying to stretch a story into 3 movies that didn't need to be 3 movies. But ultimately, they're okay movies, but they didn't do as well as they could have. So with that in mind, I think that there's modern proof before Disney even got their hands on Star Wars that showed that it's not as good as you may have thought it would have been. And then I think the new Star Wars doing incredibly well from a commercial standpoint, but terrible from a societal conversation around them standpoint. I just think that they know that if Star Wars, something that's not nearly as old and doesn't have the prestige as something like The Lord of the Rings does, it does in terms of popularity. It doesn't in terms of how old the source material is. And I just think that there's an expectation around it. I don't think, like, George Lucas is still alive. If Disney really felt like they had screwed up too much, they could just go to George Lucas and be like, work with us on a new Star Wars movie and let's get this show going. Now, they don't really have to because they're doing great with all the shows right now, correct? All the shows are actually doing pretty well for general fan agreements that they're pretty good, as well as good money. I think what you'd run into right now is that J.R.R. Tolkien's not alive. And if you're going to make new stuff completely, you run into a weird, yes, I know, Chris, so surprising. But I think you run into the fact of you don't have a buffer, you don't have a fallback, you don't really have much you can go off of. And I think that there's far more expectation about the quality because the writing is part of what makes the Lord of the Rings movies so beloved, and how faithfully they were adapted and how well they were directed is an important part. And I think the real question here is going to be whether or not the Amazon series that is looking at a period of time that's not completely explored, but there's at least foundation for within the lore. If it does well, you might start seeing more people look at going, how can we make something new within it? But here's the question. Would the new trilogy include any of the people from the original trilogy or the Hobbit trilogy?
You couldn't.
And if so, why? Yeah, exactly. And that gets weird because even Star Wars knew that to do well, they needed to make sure that they brought Han Solo back, Princess Leia back. Everybody had to come back. Luke came back.
But I feel
that
like you have to be
big thing, and I don't know if they would do it. I'm willing to be proven wrong, but
the thing is not would they bring them back. It's that if they're retelling the same story, what are they going to do? Have Elijah Wood play Gandalf? Like, there's no way to bring them back. They're too old to be the hobbits. They're, unless you're going to make them background hobbits, and then at that point, like,
you can do exactly what Star Wars did: move time forward as much as what we've seen right now. Move time forward 20 years.
To be fair, that wasn't really what I was asking. I was saying literally remaking those movies again.
Oh,
I'm not talking about making new Lord of the Rings. I'm talking about touching those movies again.
Yeah, no, there's no way.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I think the IP was so cheap.
Yeah, even less so. I thought you were talking about making a new trilogy within the world.
No,
and I think that's more likely than someone trying to remake the Peter Jackson movies.
Right. That was what I'm saying.
Beloved.
Exactly. So that's why I think the IP might have been cheaper that someone like Embracer got it rather than Amazon or Netflix. Because I don't believe for a second Embracer's out there shelling out $50 billion, which they could have. So if they, for a paltry $3 billion, they got Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, maybe. And I'm sure what they paid for it is public knowledge, I'm sure.
I haven't seen it reported anywhere. I'll find
may not know until it's completed, but most of the time that information is shared initially. But actually, the Paul Zintz company, I'm pretty sure was open. I don't think they were, private. So I don't know.
Okay, I don't understand. It announced they've paid approximately 8.2 Swedish kronas, about 778 million for all 5 of these acquisitions, which means Embracer paid this amount to acquire the Middle Earth Enterprises, Limited Run Games, String It's, Tuxedo Labs, and Tripwire. Not even $1 billion for all 5, including Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
There has to be a reason that Amazon was like, no, thank you.
Tripwire cheap. I can honestly, most of this is cheap. I would say the majority of that 750 million is Lord of the Rings and Middle Earth, but you're still probably talking 500 million, which seems like a steal when you think about how much Star Wars went for.
Insane. They own the Lord of the Rings movies.
Star Wars is far more profitable than Lord of the Rings realistically. Lord of the Rings is still a money printing machine, just in a different way. Also, while you're thinking about that, even Disney would not try and remake the original Star Wars movies. There's no way.
No.
There's no way. They would never.
This sounds really morbid, but everyone would have to be dead.
Like every actor that was
every
in the original,
actor, every person who saw the original Star Wars, all of them would have to be dead.
Man,
like it would have to be the post-apocalypse, and we've built back up. And they're like, "You heard of that Star Wars thing that happened before the bombs fell?"
It's like we have written dialogue of what the movie was. We can tell the movie existed and have design documents, but the actual film was lost. And no one's seen it. No one living.
Exactly. Guess who plays Han Solo? Mark Wahlberg.
I actually think Tom Holland would make a pretty good Han Solo, as weird as that. You know what I mean? In like
I'd watch that movie.
10 years from now, I think he could knock that out. I think he'd be pretty good.
He's not going to look that different in 10 years. Jesus.
I think he will. I think he'll finally start. I think he'll finally start looking.
He's 25. Not going to go through puberty at 25. He's going to look like this for most of his life. Okay.
No, my man is not. I'm telling you, 5 years from now, you're gonna reap those words. You're gonna be like, God damn.
I'd be willing to bet on that. If we're still doing this show in 5 years, I will send you a pizza because Tom Holland will not look the same.
Okay, and I'll send you a pizza if he does.
Yeah, live on the show, I will order a pizza from Galaxy Hut, send it right to your house over Wi-Fi. Easy stuff.
Over Wi-Fi. I'm pretty sure in 5 years it'll be a whole different ball game.
You got to download.
Pretty sure you can just order it on the. Pretty sure you can just say Google.
Order it in the metaverse, and Chun-Li delivers it to your house. Fortnite is the metaverse. God. Anyway, what's next?
Anybody who thinks the metaverse is in the next 5 years is
not Mark Wahlberg's metaverse. Not Mark Wahlberg. I meant Mark Zuckerberg.
All right, listen, this show has gone on for a lot longer than I anticipated, which has been interesting and fun, but I do have to work tomorrow, so we're going to have to be concise about this. First things first, this is clarification from me and Chris. We did not watch Gamescom live as a single stream. We both went through each individual, for the most part, each individual trailer. There's a few we skipped because our interests weren't with them, and we think that's fair. So it's kind of hard for us to look at it and say, what do you think about this Gamescom as a whole? Because we didn't watch it as an event. We more watch it as broken down things. But looking at the things that are within it, I think it seems like a pretty solid showcase.
Right. It existed.
Now, one thing that Chris said earlier that I think might be a little true is that even with how decent, how solid it was, a lot of these games you're probably never going to hear from again.
No.
And that's kind of a weird reality. And when we say hear from again, we mean that they're going to get their moment in the limelight, and then they're most likely going to fade. Kind of like we saw with that dinosaur high school thing that they showed during the PS5. And
Goodbye Volcano High.
Yeah, Goodbye Volcano High. I don't know if that's come out. I don't know if it's still coming out. I don't know.
It's too furry adjacent for me. Sorry.
Anyway, with that, we're going to go through at least Chris and I both watched Engadget, or Eurogamer rather, where everything is what I assume was in order. So we're going to start kind of go through in order for things that we know we watched.
Notably not VGC.
Yeah. For the first time ever, Chris went off of VGC. Did it hurt, Chris?
A little bit.
Did it hurt to betray them like that?
Yeah, my fingertips are buzzing.
It was said you would bring balance to the Video Game Chronicles, not leave it in darkness. All right, so the very first thing that popped up was the ex-boss of Grand Theft Auto, Rockstar North, and their new studio with their game everywhere. I'll tell you right now, the trailer, weird. I don't even know what it is. Yeah. I just don't. Then it went from looking like an upgraded version of Spore. I don't even know if any of you remember the EA game Spore, but it looks like a weird version of Spore meets like a civilization game in space. But then suddenly it looks like I'm seeing a photorealistic version of the dude from Mafia 3.
It is the dude from Mafia 3. It's a skinnier guy, same dude.
All they did was just, he's not as buff, that's all it is.
Exactly.
But no, I'm telling you, I don't even have thoughts on it because the game's coming out in 2023 and I don't know what it is. So that's as much as I have to say on that. Chris, anything you want to add about Everywhere?
I'm blown away 2K let them steal the model for this game.
It was in the contracts.
It's the same guy. Continue.
Well, then it's just an actor. That's all that matters. All right, next thing up. This one's kind of weird. So Dune, of course, is enjoying its new level of success with the movies. And of course, the second Dune movie is in the works. So Level Infinite have announced Dune Awakening, which is apparently an open world survival MMO in the works at Funcom. And it's a CGI trailer, so you don't know shit about it. It's the issue that I'm having with a lot of these is I am to the point where, much like I said with the Xbox Showcase, I am tired of CGI trailers. I understand that they probably serve a purpose, but for me as a player, nothing takes my interest away quicker than CGI trailers. Every now and then they look cool. Sure, this looks great. I mean, the CGI is done really well and it looks interesting. And okay, I don't know what it is. Doesn't explain to me anything. All I need to hear is that it's a survival MMO and I'm pretty much out. Now, what I would like to see, even though I've been debating it in my head, I would like to see Yes. How'd you know? Got that RJ Burger dick for her. Anyway.
Oh, God. Deep throat.
Oh, man. What a show. What I want is a Dune single-player open world game. Maybe not even open world. I was really thinking about that. Would a Dune RPG be anything more than just essentially like Mad Max, but on the Dune planet? And the reason I say that is because I kind of got tired of Mad Max having zero variety in its locales. And it made the game become boring and stale to me, even though the characters and stuff weren't yet. I wasn't able to get over the boringness of the gameplay. And so looking at this and thinking about Arrakis and that the majority of the Dune storyline takes place on Arrakis, I don't know that I want to see that as the only environment that I'm going to explore in an MMO or in a normal game. The only way I could see this potentially working out is if in this Dune thing, all it's doing is looking at the entire Dune world, and it ends up being more like an EVE Online style game where you can fly up in the air and teleport with the space worms that jizz out space stuff that lets you travel through space. They basically orgasm and you travel through space while they're high on spice.
They get Richard Attenborough voiceover to talk about the space worm cum and how it powers our jet fuels.
Anyway, point being,
space cum can't melt geosteel beams.
Oh, God.
Dune Awakening looks cool. I would not. I mean, it says nothing about the game, but I'd fight a sandworm.
I think I would too. But here's the thing: I've done that in Shadow of the Colossus.
I know
agree.
You haven't played Shadow of the Colossus.
I hate you.
I beat that sandworm every day.
Chris, you need to play Shadow of the Colossus. By the way, I own it. It's on multiple things. You need to play the remake of Shadow of the Colossus. It is so good, and I want to have a conversation with you about that game.
Spoiler chat. Also, I'll do it.
It's ridiculous looking. It looks so good.
Okay, I mean, I'm in. I'll try it.
But yes, there is a sandworm fight in that, which is great and perfect. And it's not this sandworm, but it's close enough.
Find the
Conceptually, it's hitting all the things. Yeah, I don't know. I would prefer to see Dune take a single player thing. I don't know. I think the MMO market continues to get more and more flooded, and there's so much competition that I could only imagine that since World of Warcraft still hasn't completely bowed out and Final Fantasy 14 are doing so well, and then Elder Scrolls Online has a decent little community niched out for it, I don't know how much more people are going to get with this. But it also depends on what their level of success is, because today, right now, you can still download and play DC Universe Online. They still make money from it.
I agree.
So
I would like to, before we get too far off it, I asked the ghost of Blake Popes, because he's a big Mafia 3 fan, to watch the Everywhere trailer. And he says, what the F it 1,000% is. And then he goes, is this canon?
Even from the dead, coming with the zingers.
He's very upset.
Next thing up, Sony finally announced what people have been wanting so long for them, an official PlayStation-made DualSense Edge wireless controller, which is essentially their version of the Pro controller or whatever. So what's the Xbox one called? Is Elite. It the Xbox Elite? Yeah, there we go. So it's got everything you'd imagine. It's got trigger stops. It's got mappable buttons in the back. It's got replaceable analog sticks. It's got the front clip comes off and you can completely remove the analog module. Really interesting. I personally think that the render that I actually saw of it, where it's not shrouded in the weird thing that this is a cool thing. I don't like that the plastic is glossy on the front clip. It just looks cheap in comparison. I don't even know how to describe that, but I ultimately think it looks cool, and I love the PlayStation buttons etched into the touchpad. It's very, very good looking. So
that's a sexy.
It's finally coming, boys. Now
I would kiss that controller.
Do you think that this? What do you think this is a 2022 release?
I wouldn't be surprised if it came with Call of Duty. Not like came with the Call of Duty.
Yes, yeah, but launched alongside.
Launched alongside it,
yeah. Yeah. What price point? What are you thinking? 139?
250.
160? You think really? You think they're going to go?
That's what the Elite costs.
The Elite, right?
No,
I thought they were 200. That's basically, you're coming to my question. Are they going to cut under the Elite's cost? Or are they going to meet the Elite's cost?
I mean, okay, so it's 179 right now. I know when they came out, they were around 200. I could see 200. But then again, it's Sony, and they're going to be like, this is also a DualSense controller. It's 250.
I mean, they still honestly have that ace in their sleeve. They still have stuff in there.
This has haptic feedbacks for hardcore G Fuel chugging gamers.
Now here comes the real question, though. How do you reconcile adaptive triggers with an adjustable trigger stop? I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm curious. I would have always said, and I think that this technically already exists, games can do it as much as they want. Technically, Returnal does this because there's two different fire modes depending on how hard you pull down the triggers. I think that the actuators in the adaptive triggers for PlayStation 5, the DualSense, already have it to where you should have a software version of a trigger stop. So that if you want to make it to where you have a real shallow trigger, then you just tell the actuator to at 20% pull, activate that trigger, and it's a hard stop. And you have to pull way harder to go past that. That would be essentially an emulated trigger stop. And I think it would work pretty well for people who don't want to go that extra mile.
If you pull past it, you could probably break it eventually. That's probably why they're doing it regularly. But I would imagine if they're going to do this, they're going to have a haptic setting and then other settings.
Yeah, I'd be curious.
Have 4 levels, one of which is normal.
Yeah, it could also be a movable actuator to where it's moving up or down based on where you're setting the trigger stop.
Maybe that would be cool.
It could be that you're raising the floor of the actuator, and the trigger stop is just acting that way. That could be interesting.
I agree.
Either way, something's curious. I still think they probably won't do what I'm talking about and have a digital version of the trigger stop with the normal DualSense because they want people to go ahead and buy this controller. But I think that would be a really cool move for PR on Sony's part. Be like, hey, while this is an even bigger reason as to why the DualSense is such a big improvement over any other controller that's out right now, this is a functionality that is born from the fact that it has the technology in this to essentially act this way. So never say never, but as we said earlier, this isn't PlayStation 3 era Sony, so they have no reason to do that. Sadly.
Sadly, indeed.
And it's so weird when you're talking about PS3 era Sony, because are you talking about beginning PS3 era Sony where they made a lot of bad mistakes? Or are you talking about the other 3/4 of the PS3 era where they were just firing on all cylinders and releasing great games? Who knows? It's the problems that we come into. All right, next thing up, Callisto Protocol got new gameplay. Gameplay looks great, as I expected. The only thing that was kind of interesting for anybody who, I guess I'll tell you right now, if you're not wanting to be spoiled by anything, I don't blame you if you click off the episode and stop listening because you want all the surprise. But Callisto Protocol, gameplay looks great. Looks like Dead Space more modern, as you'd expect. But what was interesting is at the end of the trailer, it brought in the 2013 Tomb Raider reboot deaths, where he's sliding down and then ends up hitting a fan blade, and then instead of it just doing damage, it like takes you up and cuts you in half. I love those. I remember people saying that they thought the Tomb Raider deaths were too gory, and I was like, I think it's sick that I'm rushing down a river and there's a huge stick out and I don't miss it and it pels me through my chest. That's
I agree.
Sick. But
I completely agree.
Yeah. So, Chris, I think me and you were already Callisto Protocol day one. Anyway.
Oh, yeah. Pre-order the collector's edition.
Yeah. So, look at that. We don't have to worry about it. Looks good. Here's the next one's pretty interesting. As anyone who's listened to the show for a while knows, I thought Lords of the Fallen was a pretty solid early take on the Souls-like games when that wasn't as much of a thing as you're seeing now. But Lords of the Fallen 2 has been in development hell since it came out. And here we are, Lords of the Fallen. They've dropped 2, as we know, as a new developer is on here. And it kind of looks like if you mixed Elden Ring with the Elden Ring with Mortal Shell. I don't know. It doesn't look bad. I even think it maybe looks a little cool. But it also looks, when you've had so many more Souls-like games come out, it gets harder and harder to niche out a style that feels unique within that. And you're running out of time. I'm still willing to try this and play it, but also CG trailer didn't give me much to go off of. I also thought the use of Danzig's brother in the trailer was weird because I feel like that type of music in that setting didn't fit. I'd rather have a crazy string-hitting fantasy score than hear Danzig's brother playing to a dude coming in on a double-headed dragon while you slice him. I just didn't think it fit. It wasn't the worst, but...
That was the most provocative thing said on this show so far. A dude sliding into the dragon with a double-headed thing. Incredible. I'm not going to expand on this. I want to move on, but I just want to leave with this comment. This trailer reminds me of David Ayer's Suicide Squad. So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, how the final product or the trailer? You know the final product of Suicide? Okay, gotcha.
And I think it's going to be about as good. Moving out to?
I don't have high hopes. Moving out to, didn't even watch. Actually, I technically did for a little bit.
I straight up skipped that.
It's not the type of game I would have made automatically come to. I'm not really that worried about it. I'm sure people love it, but it's not on my radar. So I won't say too much about that. And the next thing, Hogwarts Legacy, the Sebastian Sallo's Dark Legacy. Man, I think this game looks incredible.
And I'm not even so goddamn good.
I like Harry Potter. I'm not like a massive fan. I like Harry Potter. This looks so sick. I think the quality of the animations looks phenomenal. The game looks like it's truly made to be its own standalone project. It doesn't look like it's trying to be a weird tie-in or a movie tie-in or some cash grab. It looks fantastic. It looks so good.
Oh, I can't wait.
I'm excited.
I'm genuinely incredibly excited.
Yeah, I'm very excited. Now
I am a huge Harry Potter stan though, so
I've got it. I've got the answer.
Yeah.
February 10th is when PSVR 2 launches because Hogwarts Legacy includes PSVR support for Hogwarts Legacy. And you can run around and use those little things and flick your spells and shit. It's going to be, yeah.
I would, and I don't say this
You
lightly.
take the promise of PS Move sorcery with a new game. Follow me here, and I don't say this jokingly.
I don't know if you ever heard of this. Splooge over Harry Potter. I'm a big fan. I'll buy whatever collector's edition I can get. I already know that if there's no collector's edition, I will pre-order the digital deluxe for that 72-day early access, 72-hour early access.
72-day early access.
Like, hey, you got it right now.
Everyone would be pre-ordering the digital deluxe at that point. They'd be like, bro, what?
There's a limited number of digital ones. There's $400. You get it 2 months early.
That would be wild. It kind of makes me think of, not from a digital standpoint, but I still remember thinking it was crazy that Sony released the Vita a week early, only if you pre-ordered the Founders Edition. Basically, it was called the first week bundle or whatever, and it came with my case that my OG Vita sits in, and a week early, and all games for the most part were available. I don't necessarily understand the thought process behind it. I guess there's a thought process that you're going to have 2 launch days and the hype of both launch days coming. I don't know. It was a weird move, but that looks awesome. Good show. We move on to the next one. So Gearbox, as we knew, announced that they were going to be doing Tales from the Borderlands, bringing it back, but developed by Gearbox instead of by Telltale Games. And I don't know what's up with these naming conventions, but it's called New Tales from the Borderlands, as if Nintendo was on the board sitting there being like, you know what would make this even better if you put a new in front of it.
What? What? I turned this trailer off the second I realized it was new characters. Don't care.
It's weird because I saw Reese in the trailer.
Did you? I didn't notice.
But he's clearly a side character.
Yeah, at that point, don't care.
It's Reese as you see him in Borderlands 3, where he's like ahead of one of the companies and wearing his little suit and whatnot.
Okay.
And it's not a hard no for me on this. I'm very undecided because it depends on gameplay. Because I've noticed from the fact that Chris and I tried to play Tiny Tina's Wonderland. And I'm gonna be honest, every time we played that game, I was trying to play that game. Like I was trying to be like, yeah, this is gonna be good. It's fun.
Yeah, dude, this is great.
Borderlands, since the first game, I've not been able to beat one. I don't know what it is, but the gameplay is always what makes me leave. I actually think the world, the characters, all that's great. And I think Tales of the Borderlands worked for me because it wasn't weighed down by the gameplay of a Borderlands game, but I got to experience the world and the characters without that. And I think Tiny Tina's did a little bit. It lasted a little bit longer than plenty of them did because it was different, and I'm not hating on Borderlands. It's just, I fall out of love with Borderlands very quickly. I'm undecided as to how I feel on this because I don't know if it's going to work or not.
This is one of those for me that if it reviews like shockingly well, I could see myself picking it up, and that is it.
Well, I'll tell you, because of my feelings for Borderlands, I initially didn't play Tales of the Borderlands. I only played it once it was free on PS Plus because I thought, well, I don't really like Borderlands. I keep falling out of them, and I was like, it's probably not going to be good. And at that time, I feel like Telltale still had that stigma with me where I thought that they weren't known for being technically sound and being very kind of buggy. So I was like, it's not that important. And then I played it and I love it. And that's such a great game. I think Tales of the Borderlands is the best Borderlands out there. And I know that probably just sparked some fires under some people, but it's my favorite Borderlands experience.
I can't find a reason to disagree. So
yeah, so it's not a no from me, but the fact that it's also not the original developers and writers means that I don't know how this is going to be handled and if I like it as much. I was surprised at how much I grew to love the characters and the Telltale ones. Though this does bring me to an interesting point. I miss playing Telltale games. I never thought that would have been the case. But there's something about them. There's a charm to them, even when they're not doing well. I actually thought the Telltale Guardians of the Galaxy was also really good. And I enjoyed
never finished it.
Yeah, and of course, Wolf Among Us is so good, and I'm so excited for Wolf Among Us 2 to still be happening. But yeah, it's a type of game where I can see this working, but there's some moments in the trailer, Chris, where I'm almost curious if they're going to try and mix some more traditional gameplay in with this. And I don't necessarily know that if that's what people want from Tales from the Borderlands.
It's not what I want. I want a walking simulator.
I mean, yeah, I want to make decisions as characters. Okay, just let me make decisions as characters. Next thing up, I skipped Dying Light 2: Stay Human, Bloody Ties. I'm assuming this is DLC.
It's DLC.
I
It's an
haven't played
arena
Dying
thing.
Light 2. I don't care. If it looked good to you, I'm happy. I'm glad.
I still have not played my most anticipated game of 2021. So
craziest thing I know, but
sad.
Tortuga: A Pirate's Tale. The one thing I want to tell you about this is I did watch it, and I have never. I understand that it's probably originally in a different language, and then they had to translate it. But the close up of a pirate talking to me, where I can clearly see his face animating, completely out of sync with his voiceover. Yeah. If you know you're going to have these issues and you're wanting to be able to service many markets at once, I told Chris, I'd rather see a pirate turned back to the camera with his head slightly tilted back where you can tell his jaw's moving, but you don't have to worry about whether it's exactly in sync because it's more suggestive than anything. And you see him gesturing and pulling knives out and sticking them in and telling these things while adding the mystery of an interesting shot, while not having to combat the facial animation stuff.
I don't know, dog. This is the worst trailer I've ever watched. The boats don't even look like they're in the water. They look like they're skating. It's awful. I want to play it, but it looks like crap.
Yeah, I'm not going to go that far because I don't know. I got so caught up on the pirate thing that I could not even pay attention to the rest of it. I watched the entire trailer. Can't tell you much of what was happening besides that non-lip sync pirate. But that's okay.
The
Team
freaking
17's
cannons
Marauders
sound like fireworks.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Marauders
Insanity.
looks interesting because visually it looks like what I imagine a slightly newer Killzone would look like, where it's got this really dark and heavy thing on the guns, and then it pulls out and it kind of looks goofy on their faces. And I don't mean it in a bad way, but I don't know what the game is. I'm assuming it's a more multiplayer geared thing, kind of like what we saw with like Payback and Payback 2. I think it's the name of those games, the bank robbing games that you can play with people.
Yeah,
I never played them, but I think that's the name of them. So
sounds right.
We'll see. It's early access, and I don't know. Chris bought Tim early access, and it wouldn't let him download it earlier when he was trying.
Yeah.
So, if anything, I've learned that early access maybe isn't a good idea. I kid. If you want to do early access, more power to you. I just don't want to buy it until it's done 90% of the time. So, Chris, unless you have something to say about Marauders, which I don't think you do, it moves us on to Destiny 2. Now, I know that you have your own feelings about Destiny 2, as do I, and I can go into them. But did you even bother watching this? Because, okay, I didn't think so. It doesn't look bad. Actually, it looks kind of cool. But I've reached a point where I can't play Destiny all year long. I just don't care. The Witch Queen was great. I love the campaign, had a great time doing it. I will do the exact same thing with Lightfall. I will download it. I will play the story. I will get through with it. I will take the game off and not play it anymore. I'm going to play that game like a game. I'm going to play it like it's expansions. I'm going to play the content, play with friends for a little bit, bounce out when I'm done, and be fine.
Destiny just sounds so terrible to me sometimes. It's like, oh, let's run this raid 8 times in a night to get this 1% drop. Nope.
Yeah.
No, I'd rather kill myself.
All MMOs have that, right? I get it. But it's still ultimately something that each player has to go through, whether they like that kind of grind or not. Old school RuneScape is that type of game for a lot of people. But for me, it's doing the quests because that's what I find fun. And for me, that's what Destiny is. Doing the stuff that is fun and has story and interesting game. The gunplay is fun in Destiny. I think it's good, but it gets tiring when you've done the same raid 10 times in a month. Mm-hmm. It's just the nature of the beast for me. I still think this looks fine. My real complaint comes from the fact that they just took the Buzz Lightyear logo and just made it Lightfall, and I just think it looks so stupidly unoriginal. But that's okay. That's a rant for another day. I'll download the game, try it out whenever that actually does release, and I'll buy the expansion. And Chris, you can play it if you want to. You don't have to.
Nope.
So yeah. There we are. Which leads us into the next game, which I think is maybe the most torn I am over this entire presentation. And that is Sonic Frontiers.
Was I right?
Yeah, you're right. I'm torn on it because
it doesn't look very good, but it also looks kind of good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's hard to quantify and put into words because certain aspects of it I actually think look really interesting and potentially great. Other aspects look kind of mind-bogglingly weird. And I'm still not necessarily, there's still a version of me that hopes that there's like some Shadow of the Colossus vibes built into here. I'm going to tell you, Chris, you haven't played Shadow of the Colossus, so I know you can't get an exact feel for it. But did you play 2008 Prince of Persia? The cel-shaded one that had Nolan North as the voice of the prince?
No, but I own it.
Okay. Great game, first of all. You should play it. Secondarily, the Prince of Persia games have always been platformer heavy, but that one's very platformer heavy and in a very interesting way. And what my hope for Sonic Frontiers is that you take Prince of Persia 2008's idea of platforming and constantly staying on the move with Shadow of the Colossus's idea of platforming and puzzle solving up a beast to defeat it and bring those two things together. And while I don't think it's going to be the entirety of this game, I don't necessarily know that that's not an element of this game from this trailer. I think I'm going to buy this game. I'm unsure if I'm going to enjoy it, but the biggest thing is that it's releasing at the same time as God of War Ragnarok, and I think that is a mistake. The only thing I can say is that Sonic does exist in such a different niche of, I don't mean niche in the sense of small, but it's such a different part of the market. And the appeal is so different that maybe God of War and Sonic is actually two of the games that have the highest chance of not overlapping each other.
Maybe. Like, yeah, you're probably
from a sales
right.
standpoint. But, you know, it's like it'd be like a Mario game releasing alongside a God of War game. I don't think it would impact Mario at all because it's a different audience looking for different things. And they're so different that I can even see people playing God of War Ragnarok and Sonic at the same time, surprisingly.
I could see that.
But
it looks like a game that'll exist. I don't know. It looks better than most Sonic games do.
I think it's the first time I've been actively, even if cautiously, actively excited for a Sonic game. That doesn't mean I think it's going to be the best game in the world, but I think that this might be a Sonic game that I enjoy. And that's enough for me at this particular stage. If I like it, and if this game's a 6 out of 10, if I like it, that's fine. Because Sonic has got some cool stuff. Cool world building. I think that there's cool stuff that it's always done. But they tend to fall short in very specific areas. And a lot of the time, I think it's gameplay and then technicality that falls apart. Their technical prowess tends to fall. And that remains to be seen as to how well that's going to hold up in this game. But I'm going to say the game looks promising, but still iffy. Maybe one more trailer before release can fully convince me that it's going to be at the very least good. But I'm willing to buy it off of what we have. I still think it's a somewhat divisive looking title. And anybody who doesn't want to get it, I understand it. So that's okay. There is Under the Waves being published by Quantic Dream. Not being made, but published by them. And it just kind of looks like a more graphically realistic version of Subnautica.
I'm going to be honest. I hope I never hear about this game again.
You might not. I'm sure Quantic Dream hopes that you do, since the game that they're actually developing isn't apparently coming out for another 5 years. But, you know.
I don't know. I watched this trailer and I didn't see anything appealing.
Yeah.
Even when they did the super dumb, like, oh, and then we'll be there under the waves. And then it went into like the splash screen. I was like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like, I hate this.
Conversely, Chris, we get to an interesting part. Go Simulator 3.
Let's fucking go.
Dude, tell me if I'm wrong.
You're wrong.
Watching every bit of this trailer, I got the biggest Tony Hawk Underground 2 vibes
Yeah.
ever. Everything about it just looks like the weird, over-the-top, spastic nature of specifically Thug 2. Not Thug 1, with its more serious take on skateboarding. The weird Viva La Bam, jackass-infused Tony Hawk Underground 2, where you're going across the entire Earth. You know, you're doing a world tour and just messing stuff up and listening to Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire while you skate through Spain.
Oh, that level is so good.
It is great. But dude, the entire time I was watching this trailer, it's not clearly there's more going on in this, but it looks like if you took the general vibe and feel of Tony Hawk Underground and then even kind of left it with most of the stuff and then mixed it with like Flat Out. Did you ever play Flat Out on the PS2? Where you like wreck cars on purpose and like your guy would like ragdoll around and you'd use it for sports. If you should at least look up Flat Out. You ever heard of it?
No, I'll look it up.
There's a game mode on one of the ones for PS2 and PSP where you would go wreck your car on purpose to try and get your guy to fly out of the windshield, and he would become basically a dart, and you'd want him to hit a certain spot on the dartboard. And it was incredible. Super fun.
It sounds like it.
Yeah, it's like sports by way of car crashes. So
love that. I'm a big NASCAR guy. Ooh, don't get mad at me.
I mean, I'm be honest with you
specifically.
I mean, I like NASCAR. I don't watch it actively because they're too long, and I don't want to pay just to want to check in every couple of laps. But man, I'll tell you what, NASCAR is getting it when there's a wreck.
Hell yeah, it is.
Tensions are high, but that's okay. Apparently somebody sent me something. Return to Monkey Island. I skipped. I don't really have interest in that type of game at this particular moment. But I know it's a point and click game, so I might, because I was very pleasantly surprised by both Day of the Tentacle and motorcycle one. Work with me here.
Oh, Full Throttle.
Full Throttle, thank you. Both those games were really fun, and I liked them a lot. And I've been thinking about getting Grim Fandango recently to scratch that similar itch. But right now, do you have the Vita version? Because that'd be the one I'd be wanting to play.
No, I do not have Vita. Well, I think I do, but that doesn't help you very much.
It's actually true, because Vita's can't log. But that's fine. It's okay. I have other ways of getting it, so that's all that matters. Yeah, Return to Monkey Island might be that. But right now, I think old school RuneScape is kind of scratching that itch for me, where it kind of presents itself and you do problem solving in the same way that you typically do with a point and click game. So, we'll see. Next up is one that I don't necessarily know if it's a game that I would like, but I think it's very interesting. Brandon Sanderson, who you may know as the incredible author and incredible world builder. Super good. And he's also the one who finished the Wheel of Time fantasy book series when the original author passed away, which, if you know anything, held up. He maybe a little bit better. Heck, maybe actually. Anyway, the new game from him is Moonbreaker. And it's coming from the Subnautica studio, actually, Unknown Worlds. Now, here's the interesting thing. Sanderson did the world building, which is great, because his whole thing about world building is what makes his books so good. He knows how to really build up a world that feels believable and that you find interest in wanting to dig through. But the game itself seems more like a tactical kind of XCOM, but also more like Warhammer thrown together.
I can see that.
So much so that the digital miniatures that you play with and are representative of the characters, you can paint them in the game.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I saw that. You can. It looks really great.
That's really interesting. So I'd be curious to see how this does with people who really like that specific style of game. And for the right price, I'd be willing to try it.
$29.99 max.
I think I agree, though. I would probably hit this on sale for $20 before I tried it. Not that I think it's worth that.
You would get me a launch strictly for Sanderson at $29.99. But anything higher than that, I'm waiting until it's $9 because you're insulting me.
Man, I just remembered that I still need to play The
Wolverine.
I still do need to play Wanted. Actually, I've played Wolverine. Maybe I need to plat Wolverine. We'll see about that. But I need to play the Ruined King, the game from
League of Legends.
Because it looked great.
Does look great. It's pretty fun.
Yeah. All right, Chris, you were about to say something. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Was it in relation to Friends versus Friends?
No, I was going to say we could probably skip that one.
I think I agree. Doesn't look bad, but I also didn't get much from it. I don't know. Maybe it's too spastic.
Yeah.
Maybe this is destined to reach the same death that Drawn to Death did. Even though I think Drawn to Death is an incredibly unique idea and cool, maybe this just can't speak to enough people because of its stylistic choices. But we'll wait and see. Now we get to the big boy of the show. What I'm calling the Bloodborne pseudo sequel, Lies of P. It looks so good. I thought it looked good when they announced it last year and showed it off, or maybe it was earlier this year, whichever it was. This looks incredible. Incredible.
Yeah, I'm very excited for it.
I like Souls-like style games. Clearly, it's wearing its heart on its sleeve, and I think clearly it's wearing specifically Bloodborne on its sleeve in a lot of ways. UI design, of course, map design, where it's taking place at. But I also just think this weird, twisted take on the story of Pinocchio, which Chris and I were talking about, a lot of fairy tales that things are based off of, people seem to basically accredit them to the Disney versions. They don't realize that the Disney versions are based off of older folklore. And I think this looks really interesting.
Yeah, I will play this. This is one that is coming to Game Pass at launch, FYI, and I will be buying for $70 on PS4 or 5 or 6, whatever console it is.
Well, if you're not that I am, this might be one of the ones I pick up to even our balance out. We'll see.
So Brett
but we're going to get this game and play
PS5.
this game. Yeah. Yeah, dude, I mean, if you want me to, I'll go ahead and claim that I'm buying this on PS5. Yeah, this looks amazing. All right.
Hell yeah.
Do you want me to buy The Last of Us Part 1 so that you can be depressed in 4K?
Oh, absolutely. That's
okay,
great.
I got you.
Great deal.
Don't worry about it. I got you covered. Game looks awesome. If you're a fan of Souls-like games, watch the trailer if you haven't. I'd be curious to see what you guys think too. I will still say I don't necessarily know that I think it's a good name. I don't think it's the worst name. I think Chris maybe thinks it's worse than I do. But I also don't think it's a particularly strong name. But at the same point, Lies of P is probably better than Lies of Pinocchio. Because again, people are going to think of Pinocchio from Disney. And no matter what you do, you run into that situation. Now,
Lies of P is kind of, it sounds like a symptom of an STD.
I'll tell you the coolest part of the trailer, though. When Geppetto comes up and he's like, hello, son. I was like, bro, this is sick. The way that it was pulled off. I don't know. This looks great. It looks excellent.
I agree. So tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm fairly positive we could skip all the way to Gotham Knights.
I want to say one thing about Atlas Fallen.
Okay.
Specifically the Atlas Fallen. Watch the trailer for anybody who hasn't. Chris, did you watch it or did you skip it?
No, I skipped it.
I'm only curious. Can you just skip to and watch a 20-second segment of it? The reason is I actually don't think it looks terrible, but you know what it looks like? It looks so unoriginal because of the fact that it looks like you just took
this is
the
Assassin's
Unreal
Creed
Engine.
Origins.
Think for a second while you're continuing to watch it if you are. Do it at 1.5 speed. That's what I did. It helps get through it quicker. It looks like if somebody slightly copied and slightly changed things from the Unreal Engine 5 demo that they showcased.
Yeah,
of the girl running through the little ruins and then coming down and then attacking stuff as she's jumping down. It looks like that. I didn't really love the Surge, and this is from Deck 13, the people behind the Surge. It's not a yes or a no, but it's a fantasy action RPG. Does that mean it's also like the Surge going to be a Souls-like in terms of how it plays?
I mean, dude, it just looks like Darksiders, slightly edgier with, Assassin's Creed. I don't know. It looks fine. I might play it, but
Yeah, I think I agree. I don't care about Genshin Impact personally. Star Rail, I don't know about that one. I'm still curious as to whether Star Rail is a kind of game I would like. I think the characters and stuff look interesting within it, but I didn't care. Now, I am surprised that you wanted to skip past High on Life.
Yeah, I don't care about that game.
Really?
Let me rephrase. It's not that I don't care about the game. It's that I'm going to play it. Didn't feel the need to watch it. You know, it's like I don't care. I think that's fair. I'm going to play that.
I thought the game in the initial launch trailer or announcement trailer already showed me what I needed to see about that game. But in watching this, it just further doubled down that this game is taking the ideas from Oddworld Stranger's Wrath and taking them to the next level. I am a little curious how guns and weapons that can talk to you the entire game, depending on the length of the game, is going to work, and how they're going to balance them not being too chatty, but being just chatty enough to be funny, but not ever so chatty that they start to wear on you and you start to find the whole thing unfunny. I'd be very curious because in a way, the guns being the guns and the gun and the knife being alive kind of take on the idea of, I don't know if you've played Stranger's Wrath, great game, but you use live ammo. So that means whenever you run out of ammo, you've got to go and hunt down these creatures that you're going to use to do the rest of the things you're doing. And I love that. It makes for a really interesting gameplay loop. I think it makes the guns and whatnot more unique. What happens with them unique. This idea is similar to that, but they talk. The live ammo in Stranger's Wrath didn't talk. It'd make little noises when you're reloading and stuff. But that's a lot different than constantly having, I don't even know, Russian Rick or whatever the voice of his knife is, and then Space Gun Morty. I love Justin Roiland and I love Rick and Morty. I do think the only problem I have is that he tends to lean on those voices because of how recognizable they are too often.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe he's just not as good as Seth MacFarlane.
I think he's funnier than Seth MacFarlane.
I'm just talking about voices.
But yeah, I mean, yeah.
Brett, are you going to play Gotham Knights?
Oh, okay. We run into a weird thing here. I don't think so.
Wow.
But this is the closest I've gotten to thinking maybe I should.
All right. I like that. I mean, I'm going to play it regardless because I have Batman tattooed on my arm. But
well, here's the thing. If you're playing it and it's co-op as they're saying, I'll play it for sure.
All right. Then we're playing it. Gotham Knights.
If it wasn't something we were going to be playing together and I was going to be playing it by myself,
you wouldn't do it.
It was a harder sell, but I think villains and their ability to do, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt because I do think that for anybody that played Batman Arkham Origins, it's a solid Arkham game. Is it as good as any of the other Rocksteady Arkham games? No. But it's really good, and I think that they did a good job. And if they carry some of that, I don't call it know-how, but if they carry that same energy of wanting to impress players of a known franchise into this, not that this is an Arkham game, but they know that they're going to be dealing with a similar fan base, I think that they can nail this. But the only reason I think this trailer kind of sells me is because it focuses on the villains, which I think are always the most interesting part of Batman.
Of course.
Which is on purpose. The problem is every time that they've shown me gameplay from the other side of it, something always seems slightly off about it. And it could just be that it's not showing well in a trailer. But yeah, if you're playing it, I'm willing to play it.
Cool. Hideo Kojima's podcast.
Well, real quick, I want to back up to the word song announcement only because.
Oh, yes.
I think that, did you end up watching it? Did you go back and watch it? It's very vague. It's super cryptic. It's got an interesting art style. It says something about an eye, and then you see this blue swirl open up. I think that it does exactly what a good CGI trailer should do, which is this is clearly not the game, but it maybe is trying to reference some of the art style and give you an expectation. It's short, super short, stylized enough to be unique and make you wonder, and it's vague enough that the mystery draws you in. If you're going to do a CGI trailer, this needs to be it. I think the Dune CGI trailer was ultimately bad because I know enough about Dune. And if I didn't know enough about Dune, it didn't make me
tell you anything about Dune.
Yeah, it didn't bring up anything that would make me go, what the hell?
Weird sky thing. No.
Also, because even the sandworm, Dune is so known that you know about the sandworms almost undoubtedly, even if you've never seen Dune.
Absolutely. For me, the most interesting part
media.
of this trailer was the first 11 seconds when it says from industry veterans that brought you Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Elder Scrolls Skyrim, Dragon Age Inquisition, Fallout 4, The Outer Worlds.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those 6 games are some of my favorite games of all time. So
yeah.
Give it a shot.
I mean, that's a killer list. So I have high hopes for that. I think that looks really cool.
Hopefully the guy who wrote The Outer Worlds is writing this one. Helped out with the writing because, Dad, I need water. Fuck you.
I'm going to say something that's probably, and I'll tell you this as somebody who didn't watch the full trailer because it lost my interest kind of early on. Where winds meet just looks like cheap Ghost of Tsushima.
Oh, I didn't even watch it. It didn't seem cool at all.
I don't even know how to describe. I don't even mean that necessarily in a bad way. That's actually kind of flattering because I think Ghost of Tsushima is a good looking game, and stylistically, I think there's some cool stuff. But yeah, this looks a lot like Ghost of Tsushima meets maybe even Sekiro, but not quite as polished. Mm-hmm. It kind of, I don't know. It's from a new Chinese developer, or at least one I've never heard of, but it carries like this. What would I call this? Almost like a Dynasty Warriors / Neo style look to it, where the kind of looks a little more Japanese and a little more plastic with the way they choose to animate their faces out, kind of like something from Team Ninja. Which isn't, I actually don't mean that as a bad thing. The fact I've never heard of this dev and they're kind of getting close to a somewhat iconic style is not a bad thing. But anyway, you watched the Kojima podcast thing, so I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. I want to tell you right now, I like Kojima's games. I don't care about his podcast, to be honest with you. I'm not going to watch it, listen to it, whatever.
I'm going to listen to it because I think the dude is interesting. But I think there's like a misconception about Kojima, and I feel like he's just like a very normal dude who became an auteur, and he just does normal dude shit. Like if you look at his Twitter, he's not like the freaking president. He's like,
nope.
I rewatched Venom today. Like that's what Hideo Kojima posts on Twitter. Like he's an interesting 100%. Guy. I'd love to hear him do a one-off show about making video games. That would be awesome. But I don't know. This seems like the kind of podcast that's going to get really big, and he's going to half the time he's going to be talking about what he ate for breakfast. Like
I would agree in the grand scheme of. This probably does a lot to help him for the people that view him in this godlike status for some reason, which I 100%. Don't really understand.
He's going to make buku bucks off this, but
which is good though, because I think you're exactly right. For anybody that hasn't spent the time, Kojima is clearly just a normal dude who just likes creating. Right. That's it. Right. And he's just kind of eccentric with it, and definitely for us English audience who are a little more, I'm gonna be honest. English audiences are easier to win over with quirky Japanese things because they may not even be quirky outside of.
It's not quirky.
It's only quirky. It's only quirky to us because we're not familiar with the culture. And the reason I even say that, and it's not that it's not true across the board, but like, do you remember how much the internet and everybody fell in love with the original creative director for Ghostwire Tokyo, who ended up leaving? And don't get wrong, incredibly cute, quirky. I mean, she just had a good stage presence.
Smash.
She was. Also, yes. But the point being that I understand why she got so big, but a lot of it was also just that for a lot of people, she was this quirky Japanese girl. And the culture differences between these things end up coming off the exoticness of it, which is natural. People are drawn to things that don't feel familiar to them. And so language barriers and things like that can sometimes make you more sympathetic towards something. So I think people wanted her to do well more because she came out there kind of in a vulnerable state in this cute little persona. And it just had her heart on her sleeve. And that effect, I think, applies to Kojima as well. If you look, almost every time he talks, he's just kind of like, oh, hey, I like movies. I want to make a game that's kind of movie-like. And I think characters are cool. Venom's an all right movie. Here's where I think it's cool. Here's where I think it's bad. I mean,
look, This is a hot take, and I really don't want to get into a thing about it. Kojima is a very pretentious man who says a lot of things that are incredibly shallow but feel very deep. That's all I have to say about it.
You know why? Because people take everything he says and analyze it through a lens of this is a godlike creator. It's got to be deep. And I think half the time what he's saying, he doesn't even mean for it to be deep. I think people are just looking at
Metal
it
Gear
like,
Solid,
what's the meaning?
From everything I've played of Metal Gear, it is literally just war bad. But everyone is like, no, there's so much more to it. I'm sure there's more to it.
I mean, yeah, there's themes.
Blah, blah, blah. But it's war bad.
Yes.
Yeah, it's war bad. Though, like in the end, it's
that's the overarching theme that matters. And if you pick that up, then you got the primary gist of what the series is trying to
doesn't matter portray. If you're a war hero, country betrays you, war villain. That's like the whole arc of the thing. That's the whole arc. War hero, war villain, maritime law. That's Metal Gear in three words. Anyway, I think the last thing we really need to talk about is
describe Metal Gear Solid in 3 words.
I'm right though.
Maritime law.
That is,
not 3 words, but 3 phrases.
Yes.
Yeah, that's funny.
So Dying Light or Dead Island 2, right? That's really the last thing. Outlast Infestation looked fine, but
I think you should watch Black Tail: A Witch's Fate. Not because I think it's going to be like a knockout of the park, amazing, but I think it looks like one of those little games that has just enough uniqueness to it, and it's going to be presented in a way where it looks like it's not trying to be open world. It's going to be a little bit more linear driven alongside it, while still having some openness to it. I think this looks really cool, and I think it has the potential to be something fun. And again, not a 10 out of 10. This looks like a solid 7 out of 10 that I would rave about for the rest of the year because it just hits a certain note that most games don't.
It does have gameplay. That's cool.
It has some Fable vibes to it, to me.
See, for me, it was giving me it does have Fable vibes, but at the beginning, I was getting Deadly Premonition vibes, which
I also actually can see that.
If any of these games looked as good as Deadly Premonition, I would be in. I would be so much happier.
I think Blacktail, A Witch's Fate looks real, or Blacktail is what it's called. Or I guess it is Blacktail, A Witch's Fate. My bad. Looks great. I think it looks really cool.
More than happy to give it a shot on Game Pass.
Phantom Hellcat looks interesting because, again, you probably skipped it. The fact that it's a mix between like a top down and pulling the camera behind you, but then also going side scroller. I think it's going to be like a very interesting take on a Metroidvania where you're constantly seeing your camera shift, and that could be cool. It just depends on how they do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll check it out. It didn't interest me. I skipped literally from, I think, The Expanse all the way down to
the next thing for me would be Dead Island. I think Dead Island 2 is the big thing. Now I'm going to start this off with my I don't even call it a hot take. I'm just going to be honest. No matter how good this game ends up being, no matter how good the gameplay looks, another CGI trailer at the beginning. I'm glad they showed gameplay, but the fact that they did not only a CGI trailer and then gameplay, we've seen the CGI trailer 10 years ago.
It's a relaunch, though. I feel like that's a little harsh.
It's 9 years ago. But look, when you're doing this on a game that many people thought were dead, a lot of people thought this game was never going to make it. Me being one of them. Now, of course, because of somebody who listens to the show, we kind of knew that wasn't completely the case. I knew it was still actively being worked on as far as he was aware, and I'm glad. I don't want any project to just wither away and die if there's something that's really great there. And if this game has anything of value to it, I'm glad that it still got to be made. But I don't think that the way you come back for this is to do that. I think the way that you come back to this for me is that you blow people away by immediately going into gameplay. You show gameplay, you make people go, wait a minute. This looks kind of like Dead Island. And then at the end you go, Dead Island 2. And you have a release date, day one. Oh, you have a release date as soon as you re-announce it. And you hit that date. And I think that's how you make people... That's how you break down and get past the fact that people have that feeling of, is this game good? Can it live up to this 10-year development cycle? Whether or not it's been actively in development for 10 years doesn't matter. You're still carrying the weight of a game that's been announced way too early and is just now coming out. I hope the game's good, but I think that they could have marketed it a little different. Chris, have the floor. I think you may disagree a little or a lot.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think that's kind of harsh. It's like you said, the game was dead for 9 years. I feel like I feel like they could have gotten away with just a CGI trailer. I feel like having a gameplay trailer kind of removes everything you're talking about because it introduces people to the game, and then 2 minutes later they're showing gameplay of it. So they did show a gameplay trailer. This is just a 4-minute trailer. So like I don't really see the
again. I ultimately agree that for me, and I think if I'm understanding you correctly, I think if they just showed a CG trailer again, that'd have been bad. The fact that this was CG followed by gameplay works. I still think ultimately CG was redundant and not necessary, and the real way to do it is just to immediately go into gameplay and show without having to worry about resetting anything up. But
it also does look completely different than the old CGI trailer. Like, I don't know. I don't really see that argument at all, personally. Because like I said, by doing these together, this is just a 5-minute trailer. Kind of talking about what they should have shown. The CGI trailer doesn't make sense. I just think they showed a long trailer and they just split it up in 2 on YouTube. I don't see the issue personally.
Okay, so I'm actually going to come from even looking at it that way, right, where you do both of them. I still personally think the right way to have done this would have been to do the gameplay trailer first, then show Dead Island 2, and then show the CG trailer that sets up more of the story. Personally, I think that's going to transfer better for people who have thought this game had those feelings than starting with a CG trailer that might. And I mean, you're still subverting potential expectation because if you show the CG trailer first, like if I had been watching this live and they showed the CG trailer first, I'd have thought, oh, cool, they're re-announcing it, but of course, no gameplay. And then, bam, they followed up with gameplay, which is good. Much better than just doing a CG trailer. But I think that if they came out with gameplay and I looked at it, I was like, man, this looks interesting. And then, bam, Dead Island 2. And then you show me the CG stuff that's pertaining to the story. I just feel like you set me up in a better way because you don't even tell me it's Dead Island 2 until I've already been potentially, hopefully impressed by the gameplay. Then you lay it on me that this is indeed Dead Island 2. Then you pull me into the lore and the story and everything. And I think this is just clearly me saying what I think would work best for me. But I also think, generally speaking, I would be curious to see if a lot of people would agree in this what-if scenario. Now, it is a what-if scenario, so I don't really think it's something that's going to be easy to see, but audience, you can feel free to chime in however you see fit and see if give your thoughts on how it was shown and if you feel like one way would have been better than the other. But I know that does bring Gamescom to an end. So, Chris, any final thoughts on Gamescom as a whole? Because I think really the way to end this show off is going to be to put it back into the hands of the listeners and say, how did you like Gamescom? What was your standout highlight moments?
I mean, like I said, if I had watched it, I might have a different sense. But from the trailers, it seemed like some cool stuff. I think realistically, I might have been kind of salty if I watched this whole thing. But I didn't, so I'm fine with it. It all seems cool. Even the stuff I don't care about seems like it exists. You know what I mean?
It depends on the cadence in which it was done. Because if it's like the Game Awards where it's constantly being interrupted by dumb shit that I don't care about, if I'm being honest, then I'd kind of be more in that sense of like, and again, I know everyone's different. So this is strictly talking from my preference, but like I always hate when they're suddenly like, I know we're in the middle of giving Game Awards, but guess what, guys? We've got Matchbox 20 playing a song. Okay. Ultimately, I don't care. The closest you got me to caring was when they had the Doom soundtrack being played live with Matt Halpern from Periphery doing the drums live alongside the dude on guitar. I thought that was cool, partially because, of course, I'm biased by the fact that I love metal. I love the Doom soundtrack. It's amazing. And I just thought that if you're going to have music, it at least makes sense to have the music be game related. It's better than that time that they had the Race Some Red or whatever, Eardrummers Backwards. I hate saying that band name because I don't know how to say it.
Is it Eardrummers Backwards, Stremond?
Yeah. That's that band that has that girl's a real Smurf penis. That's how I sing that song. I know it's not the lyrics, but it just makes me laugh. So yeah. I think that's it for me, man. I mean, I think Gamescom was good. I agree that, or at least I agree that I might feel differently. I can't tell if I'd feel better or worse if I had watched it as a standalone event. Because I do think that when you're watching something as a string of something that's put together, there's expectations on that somebody was mindful of the cadence and flow of the information, the show, and having pockets of exciting announcements that are a little bit more big and known, and then pockets of little lesser known things that still could be interesting, and then how you weave those two together. But overall, I'm gonna say Gamescom was good. And I'm curious to see, since there was a big lack of Sony stuff here, if this new rumor about the Sony showcase has any weight. But spoiler, I doubt it, because I'm getting tired of hearing these rumors about Sony showcases. More importantly, as I say, that since Sony wasn't here in any real way besides the controller, I think that there might be a Sony showcase in the remaining months of this year. That's all I'll say. Seems like a foregone
September 8th,
conclusion.
baby.
We'll see. Chris was also the one that last time just absolutely swore on. What date was it, Chris? April?
The one
March?
I made up. It was July. But can I confess something at the end of this 3-hour podcast?
Go for it. What is your confession? Confess to me, my son.
A long time ago, we did fake leaks. And I just want to clear the air that I was Sony Fan 69. And nobody accused me of it ever.
Sony Fan 69. Is that you? Oh yeah, the
That
God
was
of
the one
War
with
thing.
And the fake the fake leaks.
I had a feeling it was you or Saul. Actually, I did. I mean, technically, I accused both of you. But
no, you never did. I listened to that show recently. You or
well,
both you and Saul
not on
accused
the episode,
each other.
but. Yeah.
No, I don't know that you did, because it just kind of died.
Right.
And then I started like,
you're so new to the show at the time that it might have just been that I was like, I wouldn't be Chris. I mean,
I was also,
in hindsight, that sounds like you.
I was also like using that account in the Discord, like chatting with people, but also there was a point where I was on my laptop on my regular account talking to myself on Sony Fan. Yes, and it would show both of us online. Like I went hard on Sony Fan 69, and I feel like
I'm happy
a year later it's time for me to admit that it was me.
Well, a year later, you're also wrong on the release date that you tried guessing.
Yeah, but I'd be curious going back how much of that stuff I've eventually been right about.
You should go look. You never know, Chris.
We'll see.
Maybe Sony Fan 69 needs to make a return. You need a new fake leak.
I mean,
I believe in you, Chris. You've got
now
this.
that I've told everyone, will anyone suspect me of the next one? Or will everyone suspect me of the next one? So you have to do the fake leak.
Subverting expectations. Let me put my Ryan Johnson hat on real quick.
What does French Mario use to tell the future?
French Mario.
Yeah, French Mario.
Don't know.
His Luigi board. Anyway, thank you for listening to this 3-hour Gamescom.
It doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, they call the Ouija board. So it's a Luigi board.
Luigi board?
Luigi.
Yeah.
Anyway,
okay.
Yes, as I was saying.
Yeah, you got to sell it, man. Come on. Good Lord.
Well,
all right. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, yeah. Thank you for listening to this large episode of Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast.
Big boned.
Yeah. I'm going to go with gargantuan. I like that word a lot. If you're listening on YouTube, please like, subscribe, share, comment, algorithm stuff. You can give us money if you like hearing whatever the hell this was at patreon.com/Nartech. I did, for the record, Brett, I hope we'll do you'll follow my little thing there. We will probably be putting a little skip to here if you don't want to hear all the food chat. I think we can get away with that. I don't know why I said that at the end of the 3-hour show. I should have said that at the beginning. But maybe you can cut this little section and move it to the front. It'll just be me dancing.
Dancing? That looked like you were jerking two dicks that are off screen.
Okay, this is what you can cut in.
But Chris, you do realize that I have clear footage of you doing that. I have free reign with.
Go for
ahead.
it. Skip to 1 hour and 23 seconds for video game conversation. For video
I'm
game
not
talk.
promising that I'm doing this, so it depends on how much time I have to edit this show and get it up within a reasonable time. We'll see what happens. Chris, you may just have done that dance for nothing, and that is priceless.
If you'd like to follow us on Twitter, I am at Figs21K. Brett is at
Chris,
Triangle
put down your
SQRT.
invisible shake weights. Put them down, sir.
If you want to follow us on Facebook, it's the Facebook group is Triangle Squared, a PlayStation podcast, I think, right? That's the whole thing.
That's right.
Brett will let you
If you're listening
in.
on podcast services, give us a review. Let people know what you like about the show,
As
what you
the,
don't like about the show. Let your wife listen to the show and then hear the dumb shit that we say and ergo become a fan, because that's how it works. We don't make the rules.
If
That's
you're
just
still
how it
here,
works.
we're not going to make this a community's take, but I would like someone to send in their scenario of the best way to kill Hitler without being implicated. I think that's it. You can join us next week for lucky episode. What is it? 263.
How would you be implicated, Chris? How would you be implicated with the knowledge that we have about forensics and the lack of knowledge that they have on forensics in 1940, 30, 20, whatever it is?
Well, maybe
First
they
of all,
keep
baby Hitler would be like, what, 1900?
no I mean maybe around there.
You were about to make me Google what year? 1889, baby.
All right, perfect. So there's no electricity, so I'll just throw them in a fire. Join us next week for what episode number?
They
is this,
walk
Scott?
up. They walk up to a pool of baby blood, and they're like, "That's gross." That's it. They don't even know
Yuck.
whose blood it is. They're like, Anyway, Chris, this has been episode 274.
So join us next week for Lucky 275. Goodbye, everybody.
What a show. Guys, we like to round the show off by showing support for our patrons. So without further ado, we would like to thank our patrons. Not only our newest patron, Mr. Stingray X, who gives $1 per month, just like you can, but also It's a Sin to Win, a.k.a. Sean, Awesome Dave 1337, Aztec King, Lecheon 69, The Lord Corgi, Salvador Garcia, Hammond Egger, Bailey Robertson, Mark Schutz, Cypher Primus, Kyle Grimm, Rude Days 93, Kevin Bacon Bits, Danny Villalobos, Jehudi MD, No Fate, Josh Ayers, Derek Porter, Constantly Kenny, Matthew Green, Sean Santarude, Steven Salazar, Shadowist, and my name is Dan. Thank each and every one of you, and we'll see you next week.